Welcome to Mr. Podcast with Claude.
And Justin.
We are talking about the long-awaited Twin Peaks Season 3, The Returned.
The
Oh my
Return.
God.
Who knew?
Returned. The best return since Jesus, if you ask my opinion. Maybe it gives it a run for its money because it was more than 3 days. Wow, I am. I mean, this intro doesn't even do this what we're talking about justice. I feel really bad.
All I can say is the stars turn and a time presents itself.
Wow, that sounds like every other day. It's just the beginning of time and stars. Yeah, I don't know where to start. I'm not gonna pretend like this is any other podcast where we have some semblance of what we're doing.
We've never podcasted about Twin Peaks before. We've talked about it, but we've never done it.
Never done a real Twin Peaks podcast, and on top of that, we're talking about the new Twin Peaks and particularly the first two parts of this new season 3.
Parts,
And
please. Never episodes.
they're apparently not episodes. They're parts, and yeah. So I don't know where to start except to say, I thought it was amazing. Again, like we're gonna be using words that don't quite capture, I think, our intentions, because I just think it was phenomenal. It was more than I could have ever hoped for. Literally, just completely. I didn't know what I wanted, and they knew what I wanted. Mark Frost and David Lynch knew what I wanted, and they gave it to me. They like drowned me in it, like it was so thick with the syrup of Lynchian goodness that it was great. I just couldn't believe I'm watching it going, am I dreaming this? Is this reality? Like, how can it be this good? How can it just like do everything I want it to do? And more. Yeah. So you and I have not really said anything to each other.
I didn't want to. I wanted to save it for this moment.
In like the 24 hours that this thing's kind of been on. So, which is a feat because usually we do a little bit pre-podcast talking, intimation. But yeah. So I'm curious. What do you think? What did you think?
Oh man, I feel like you start with that, and I feel like I'm gonna be talking for like 3 hours, but because it's just like, what did you think?
So,
I can't summarize that briefly.
This is our initial reaction podcast. So, we're recording this the day after the premiere. We will be following this up with a more in-depth podcast later in the week. So, I've only seen the 2 episodes once. Justin, I think you saw them twice. You got to rewatch it.
I did a rewatch today. Yeah.
So I barely even know what I saw. I
barely knew what I saw. I swear I got like 40% of it the first time. I missed so much. It was ridiculous. Like, I couldn't believe how many details just went right. Because I couldn't even think straight when it was playing. I mean, I was so wrapped up. Like, really basic things were happening on screen, and I wasn't even noticing them. Because I was just, like, hypnotized by the craziness.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it was like, what? So what happened? And yeah, it's. I really couldn't take it all in. I couldn't even process it. Like, I was thinking about it.
Yep.
All day, and trying to do normal things, and it's like, how can you do normal things when?
Yeah, it felt like today should have been a national holiday, so we could all have like taken some time off to think about this. I was really like, is no one else? It's just like, how's everyone going to work normally?
I know.
You guys were sleeping last night, like the stars turned and the time presented itself.
I know, and there's some people who didn't even watch this, or haven't even seen Twin Peaks. I mean, if you haven't if you haven't seen Twin Peaks before, I mean, it is obviously like expanding the world a lot, but I think this is really hard to digest if you've never seen Twin Peaks before.
Yeah. Someone asked me if they should watch if they really need to see the previous stuff, and you can't be more emphatic to say yes. I mean,
Yeah.
it's impossible to understand what's happening. There's no context. The show does
No.
not treat it like like you haven't seen it before. It makes no inroads for you in this if you don't know the previous stuff. It doesn't hold your
Yeah.
hand. It plops you right back into where we left off, and yeah, you know you gotta go watch the first two seasons and Fire Walk with Me to
Yeah.
even like play this game. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. So I mean, it's really hard to even express. So I mean, the first thing is like generally speaking, I'm a David Lynch fan. You know, I've enjoyed his movies. You know, besides Twin Peaks, I mean, I always like Twin Peaks, but also Lost Highway, Mulholland Drive,
Mm-hmm.
to a lesser extent, Inland Empire, Blue Velvet, Eraserhead. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I enjoyed a lot of his movies and his style. I liked Rabbits before he put it in Inland Empire.
Mm-hmm.
Inland Empire does have its moments. I think it's not great overall, but it's definitely not a complete pile of shit.
Yeah.
And so just having something new from David, I mean, he hasn't made anything really in terms of, sort of a big project since Inland Empire,
Yeah.
which was, I think, 10 years ago. So having a new thing, I mean, not just a new thing, I mean, we're talking, this is like, this
Mm-hmm.
doesn't happen on TV shows very often. Like the idea that, Mark Frost and David Lynch wrote all the episodes, and David Lynch is directing all the episodes.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. I don't think I've ever seen a TV show. Sometimes you have one writer writing them all, but I've never seen where it's director directing them all, especially a director like David Lynch
Yeah.
doing 10, 18 hours of stuff. Like, I mean, that's just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So having that alone is exciting because you go into this thing and there's a lot of stuff in here that reminds me of obviously of Twin Peaks, of things from his movies. It totally feels like his style, 100%. Which isn't. I mean, it really shows like the contrast of like the other things that are sort of influenced or have like a takeoff like
Yeah.
of Twin Peaks and like what the actual thing was,
Mm-hmm.
because it's really different, and I think no one else can really do this thing.
No. No one else has the fortitude to really pull it off. I think some of those scenes, I mean, the scenes in the lodge where Cooper is not really ever talking, very, very, and
Yeah.
this he talks a couple times, but even
Yeah.
those moments when you cut to the character and they don't say anything for
Yeah.
several shots,
Yeah.
like that's the kind of thing that makes you, it insists upon itself. You know what I mean? It doesn't slow itself down. I thought that was a thing that I really noticed about this very Lynchian style. That has not changed. Like this is the same feeling that goes all the way back to his early stuff, and
Yeah.
and it didn't change. You know what I mean? They didn't modernize Twin Peaks to make it fit in.
Yeah.
I
No.
think it shows that his style is modern. It's of the time because it's beyond the time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That what I thought was a real sort of feat of just sort of proving a sort of point that no one was probably asking, but just that idea of like, is the pacing gonna work? This was an early '90s show,
Right.
and it was already slow pacing because it's David Lynch, and
Right.
what does he have to do? And I thought, yeah, basically nothing. It's David Lynch TV show. Here it is, guys, and yeah, I just couldn't believe just every moment, I thought in the beginning, it was just like every shot, every moment, every decision they made, I was just like, this is just incredible. This is just incredible.
In terms of like modernizing, I think the main thing that stood out to me was just that the credit sequence, the title credit sequence, is much shorter than it was, because like that's something that as time went on in TV, like the credit sequences, title sequences got like shorter and shorter. And it's just not. If you watch the original show, like, and I rewatched it recently. That title sequence is long.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes on and on and on. And if you watch a TV show from the last 10 years or so, like you'll never see a credit sequence that's that long. And so they use the same music and like the same or similar, I guess, like general ideas, but like cut down. I think that was the only sort of concession to modern TV. But I noticed that even like the technology, that they had was like kind of old-fashioned-y.
Yeah. It was really cool to see these places in HD though. That was really interesting.
Oh yeah.
To see those shots and it's just and widescreen, was very interesting. But yeah, I remember there's a moment where the guy's using a cell phone, and even though I think it's just a normal cell phone, like it's a big cell phone, it just looked old timey. I don't know how.
Yeah.
Somehow called back to like those early 90s big phones, even though it was like a smartphone. It just looked. Yeah. It did something with the case they chose or something. It made it feel like retro modern, even though it was just a cell phone. I thought that was interesting.
There's a laptop computer that's like glitching somehow. Like I was like, why is the laptop glitching like it's an analog signal or something? It was so weird. Like, what the fuck is this? And then I noticed that there's a scene in the motel room in part 2. If you look at the telephone that's sitting there, it's one of those, like, it's not rotary, so that's a step in the modern direction. But it's the next oldest after rotary. I mean, it's that little like same shape with the cradle and then the digits, on the body of the telephone, like kind of telephone.
Yeah. But yeah, generally, I thought I was just in real disbelief that we were really living in this reality where we get to see Twin Peaks again. And every time, an actor was shown for the first time on screen was just a revelation.
Yeah.
I stayed away from basically any information about this show. I knew that there were 2 actors who had died in the,
right.
years. Besides that, I didn't know anything about the casting, so every time somebody came on, I was just like, oh my, and it's like your old friends are back, and it's and I felt like emotional in a way because like this whole experience, this human project of making this TV show and these people coming back after all this time to revisit these characters and to like put themselves back in this world for our entertainment, and for them to sort of collectively tell this story. It was just like really powerful because these things don't really happen, like things don't really come back like that in this sort of pure way, where it's like you get the old band is back together for one last tour or something. And but it's their last tour, you know what I mean, like it's not like they're back forever. They're back for this one last, greatest hits.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was, and just, moment after moment, it's like, how are my favorite moments of Twin Peaks now in these first 2 episodes? How did that happen? Like that's insane to me, that I'm like, this is crazy that in like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things, I'm like, oh, holy crap. These are all my favorite things now, and this is just the first 2 of 18 parts. And I just don't understand how they're going to keep up a pace like this or there's so many questions, but overall I was just we were trying to lower our expectations. We talked about that a couple times, and because what could this be? And I just was resigned that whatever it is will be something interesting because it's David Lynch.
Yeah. He
he
wouldn't
can't.
do like a boring reunion show.
Yeah, but I thought like even if it's like cool, but like Inland Empire or something where it's not the most interesting thing or it's a
Right.
little middling, but I thought they came out swinging, man. It felt like a heavyweight, like just coming out swinging boxing. I'm just unrelenting, uncompromising vision and execution, and no, you know what I mean. Not like and no like we're gonna gear, all the crazy stuff will be later, or we'll ramp up
No,
to it.
they went all. They start
Yeah,
with the Giants. I was
that's what
just
it felt
like,
like. Yeah,
Jesus.
felt pugilistic, man. They were just like hitting you with these things and didn't care to slow down for you and let you catch up. And yeah, I just was. It was like I told you before, like I felt bad for anyone who had to go write TV. Like you have to go to. I mean, it's a great job, right? But damn, if you have to go to work after seeing that, like, what are you doing at your job? You
Yeah.
know, because this is what this guy's doing. This is what's in his head, and I guess we'll get. I don't know how we're gonna really. We have no structure for this podcast, but the evolution of the arm. I just have to say, it was almost like Matthew Barney, Craymaster level,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, definitely.
which was really, really, really insane. But yeah, just I forgot what I was gonna say about that. I'll remember it later. But yeah, just like the craziest stuff was happening, and I just it felt unreal. I just kept going. Is this really happening? Is this is Twin Peaks 25 years later? And like these, and these characters are just, some of them are the same in a funny way, and but yeah, all the other stuff that's happening and the new characters they introduced were crazy. And I thought that shot of New York City, like we've never seen Lynch in like a big city like that. Like Mulholland Drive was L.A., but like
Yeah.
L.A. was shot kind of quaint, in a way. It was very sort of myopic, you know what I mean? Like it was, it felt like a
Yeah.
small town L.A. Because the story was so contained,
It was
but
focusing on Hollywood too,
yeah,
not like the general big
yeah,
city.
you're exactly, and yeah, exactly. So it made Hollywood feel like this like small town,
Yeah.
and so I feel like we've never really seen like Lynch in a big modern city like that, and like that shot of New York City was insane. It just really caught me off guard. I just was not expecting that, and then it like looked fake. I just
Yeah.
I've never seen this shot of New York City look so fake. It was so
Yeah, I thought the same
strange.
thing.
It was hyper real, and then it started reminding me of Dark City. Like once it cut from that aerial shot to like that really low shot looking up of the building, which is
Oh,
like
right.
German expressionism, like film noir style direct, cinematography. And I was just like, oh my, the buildings weren't moving, but I'm like, this is Dark City, this
Right.
these same shots.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I was just hooked. I mean, it was just the first like probably half hour was probably holding my breath or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a crazy thing to start with. Like, I mean, it's not right the very first thing, but like right towards the beginning, we get introduced to that idea of like this room with this box thing, and this guy's just staring at it, and nothing's really happening. And then he's like putting microchips in a thing, I guess I don't know what those are. Tapes,
I think he was.
mini discs.
Yeah, I think those are like storage discs. And I
Storage
think he was
discs, yeah.
adding, or as the storage got filled.
Yeah. Like the cameras are recording, and he's just storing the data in little bins or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, just to take like it's you've waited 25 years, like so.
Yeah.
Now we're just gonna sit and watch this guy sit there.
We're gonna show you some new characters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
In New York City, like could it be like farther away from Twin Peaks?
Mm-hmm.
Like it seems like this should have nothing to do with Twin Peaks at all.
Yep.
I mean, that's one of the things about the new show that's kind of crazy. Like, it's really expansive. Like, we have stuff
Yeah.
in New York City. There's a story in South Dakota, and
Yeah.
then we also have like one scene that's in Las Vegas. Um, and
Okay.
you know, and the Twin Peaks stuff. Yeah, they brought back what's his name from Mulholland Drive and from Lost.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah. I gotta say, those were when I saw Balthazar Getty. I
oh,
mean,
and Balthazar Kenny. Oh
I
god.
I just couldn't because the style was calling for them, and I really was like, and I did remember thinking because something reminded me of lot because I was of course thinking about Lost Highway as I was watching this, and I remember thinking, oh man, yeah, this feels like a similar world, Lost Highway, blah blah blah. But when I saw Balthazar Getty, I just was like, just I mean, it's just it's like Christmas upon Christmas upon Christmas, you know. It just I felt so unworthy of this show, and then fucking Jackie Treehorn shows up from that was his character on Mad Men, but the guy this was the guy in Las Vegas, right? From Mulholland Drive who had the dream about the person behind the trash can.
Jackie Treehorn.
Yeah, wasn't that his name on
Jackie Treehorn is from Big Lebowski.
Oh, sorry.
Who are you talking? The porn guy from Big Lebowski.
He was sorry.
It's like, who are you talking about?
You remember the guy who like Don had to deal with? He was like the actor guy who insulted everybody, and his wife was like trying to hit on Don all that time. But it was the same.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that guy.
It's that guy. It's the guy from Gotcha.
Yeah, I forgot what his. Sorry, Jackie Treehorn. Got my guys mixed up. But anyway, yeah, so I was just like, I couldn't believe it, like getting him in here, and then I saw that guy, the guy from Mulholland Drive, and I'm like, listen, if Bill Pullman shows up, I'm just really gonna have to slip my wrist here, guys. Like, I really won't be able to handle it if we get more Lynch actors in this thing, because it's just already this like culmination of like his Twin Peaks, his best work for TV, and like it just, and then you're gonna bring in the film people too. Like I just was it was I was just too ecstatic.
Yeah. So I think like it's hard for me to it was I think within like what was possible, it was about as good as it could have been. Like I can't imagine how it could have been better. I mean, there are certain things that like I will question as we start talking about it that I didn't necessarily like, but just in general, like I don't think it could have been much better. But I think for me, like my history, I mean, with the show, I think the first time I watched Twin Peaks was probably in the 90s. It would have been like, I think it was after, I think I saw Lost Highway first, and then I went to go watch Twin Peaks. And, it was on VHS. It was on the EPs. So like, they could fit 6 hours on there.
Mm-hmm.
But the trade-off was that the quality was terrible. I mean, VHS was bad enough already, but this was like bad quality VHS. And that's how I originally watched Twin Peaks.
Mm-hmm.
For a long time, you couldn't watch the original pilot. You could only watch the pilot with the European ending, which has like goes in a totally different weird direction. That's tangentially related to what actually happens in the series. And then the DVDs came out, only season 1, but without the pilot. That was the first thing.
Yeah.
And then season 2 came out. Wow, finally we get season 2, but still no pilot. And then the Gold Box came out where we finally got the pilot, but no Firewalk with Me. And then after that, finally the Blu-rays, they have the pilot, seasons 1 and 2, and Firewalk with Me together. That was the first time that happened, and that was only a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that wasn't long. Anyway, over the years, with various like formats, I mean, I probably watched the series and Firewalk with Me 10 times, something like that. I mean, I was watching it once a year for a while. More recently, it's been more like once every 2 years. Yeah, I rewatched it for knowing the new series was coming back, and I rewatched it like a couple of years ago.
Hmm.
So I've seen it a lot. I mean, I'm a big fan of the original series, and
Yeah.
I think like it's the kind of thing where just like if they brought back Lost, like no
Hmm.
matter how good it is, no matter how interesting it is, the original has such a mythic quality in my mind that
Hmm.
even if this is better in some sense, it still feels like a separate thing. It does not feel
Hmm.
like it's part of, you know what I mean? It feels separate or somehow, I don't know. It doesn't feel like the original thing. It's closer to Fire Walk with Me than the original series.
Yeah. What I find interesting though is I think that's good because
I
what like
agree.
what's powerful to me about this is how, the line "I'll see you again in 25 years." If that line was not in the original, if that wasn't set up in that way, this would have a bit of a different feel to me, but it feels like a bit of an achievement to kind of have this cyclical story, and even the whole idea of like, Bob and those people, coming out every certain often, that whole cyclical part of that story, like to me that adds this other quality to it that makes it super special because it's hard to you can't really plan that, you know what I mean? You can't be for sure that in 2 decades you'll get to revisit your thing again,
Right.
so it's just this like, it's like kismet that it all aligned, and on top of
Right.
that it's really good, so yeah, so I totally agree. It doesn't feel like it feels separate, but it should, because because time has passed for us, time has passed for the characters, and you can't
Mm-hmm.
not feel that time, you
Yeah.
know and I think that it plays to the advantage of the story, that time is real for us, versus like if season 3 had come out, back in the 90s,
It
but
would
they
have
had
been totally different.
25 years. It's not the same. You can jump 25 years all you want, but your audience hasn't lived that
Yeah.
time.
The
And
impact isn't the same.
that's what really is getting me about this, is not just that it's back and all this, but that it had this kind of built-in prophecy to it, and so we're back along with the characters to kind of like, it's kind of like, a bit of that feeling with it, with when the kids have to fight the monster again when they're adults,
Right.
that feeling of everybody coming back and
Yeah.
the first aligning for
Yeah.
for this, for this revisiting of the original situation, but yeah, just the real world, minutia of how the show got produced and back together. It's just a miracle that it all worked out, but yeah, yeah, and for me, I haven't seen Twin Peaks the first 2 seasons as much as you have. I think I've probably only seen it maybe 3 times, 4 times total.
Mm-hmm.
In all of its totality. I'm more of a fan of the movies. That was more of my thing.
Right.
I also saw Lost Highway first. I think you might have told me about it. I don't actually remember.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how that worked back
Yeah.
in high school
Yeah,
days.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, and there are two movies that, I grew up like most of us watching, movies and TV and falling in love, and yeah, there's a lot of things that like are attached to my childhood and I feel like I'm inspired by, but there's only two movies that inspired me enough to make me want to pursue filmmaking, and one was Dark City,
Yeah.
and the other was Lost Highway. And I remember, I don't know if I was applying to film school or I was writing an essay, but I remember saying this phrase that Dark City taught me uh, dreams could be movies, and Lost Highway taught me nightmares could be movies. And I felt like those two things kind of
Yeah.
went hand hand, and so Lynch has a really really special place in my heart. I mean, is like after watching these first two episodes, I'm like, yeah, my favorite writer director. Who else? Who else? Who else? Step up to the plate. Who do we got? I mean, I'm like Christopher Nolan. Yeah, right. You know what I mean? I love me some Christopher Nolan, but come on,
Yeah.
it doesn't even come close, and so, like so to me to have the person who has inspired me in this huge way, and whose voice as an artist like is just completely unmatched and singular, and like no one's even trying to do what he's doing.
Yeah.
It's not even close, and have like that come back after all these years later, and to be just as hard hitting and just as shocking and just as like inspiring. Like I like literally I have not this is the feeling people chase their entire lives. That feeling of being in the zone or being inspired, or the thing that made you want to be whatever you wanted to be when you were a kid, or like that first time you saw your favorite band at a concert, you know what I mean, and you go to 50 concerts after that to chase that feeling. And like that's what this like to me was like, here's that thing again. Here's that thing you didn't know you could ever actually feel again, where you were just inundated with pure like unabashed creativity and like limitless. And I'm watching the show going, anything's possible, anything's possible, anything's possible. Like I'm like one of the scenes in the Black Lodge, and I'm just like trying to figure out and I'm literally telling myself anything's possible. I'm in a situation where anything is possible, and you can almost never say that on a TV show, like that at this moment anything could actually happen,
Right.
And that's what I was gonna say about the evolution of the arm. Just to jump back to that, is to get to something that insane and crazy and interesting and dark and twisted, and it to be 100% justified. I mean, goddamn, I literally was just like clapping out loud as I was watching it by myself. I was just like, bravo, guys. I mean, you really did it. I mean, I'm watching a brain on a stick, and I'm sorry, a talking brain on a stick, and it's completely justified.
Yeah.
I couldn't, and it was just like moment after moment.
Yeah, I couldn't believe
but
that
so
worked.
yeah, so
If you pitched that idea to me, I would say that sounds ridiculous.
It just would work, yeah. But so yeah, so just like you and I go way back with Lynch and being enamored with his stuff, and Lost Highway is definitely like I said, just the film that really was like, oh, this is what movies can do. A movie can be this strange and wonderful, and so it's just crazy to have someone like Lynch who is great at this stuff. That's the other feeling I had. I'm like, now I understand what it would be like if you were around when like Da Vinci was doing shit.
Right.
Michelangelo, or like, Copernicus is, like Galileo, it's like, hey, I got this telescope. Let me show you something, and he tells you, the Earth revolves around the sun or whatever, it's just like mind blowing. It just felt like a master at work, and it was just like, wow, where were you when Twin Peaks season 3 aired?
Yeah.
It felt way more than like a normal TV show. It just didn't feel like a TV show. It felt like an event.
Definitely. Yeah, I can't think about this like a normal TV show at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's and I know that it was written and sort of conceived as a whole thing, and so like the divisions are something that they figured out after the fact, and so like I think even more so than most shows, like the season really is like a complete thing. Like the individual episodes don't really have like clear arcs or anything like that,
Yeah.
Like it's just kind of
Here's
like
that happened, and here's some more stuff that happened.
exactly. Exactly. And like it fits together. It's continuing the same story, but it's not like, you know, most shows like will do that within the context of like, but we're telling an individual story this week, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That you really didn't have that sense with this episode. So like, can we? So do you want to talk some specifics?
Yeah, let's do it.
So I think like the number one thing that like really threw me about this, where I was like, because I mean, Twin Peaks fans, if you remember how the original show ended, it ends with Cooper comes out of the Black Lodge, and you see that he's possessed by Bob, and also in what?
So what about Annie?
Yeah, exactly.
How's Annie?
How's Annie? Exactly. How's Annie? Well, I've talked about Annie. Annie's a loose thread there, but and then in Fire Walk with Me, we find out a little more specifically that seemingly like Cooper's doppelganger escaped. And of course, the connection between the doppelgangers and Bob, not 100% clear, but anyway. The Good Dale, the original one, is actually still in the Black Lodge, right? And so, Annie shows up in Fire Walk with Me in Laura's bed and says the Good Dale's in the lodge and he can't leave. Write it in your diary, And that was like, I mean, for fans of the show, I mean, that was the closest we could get to like imagining something from season 3, that stuff.
Yeah.
Like where would it go? Maybe they could find the page from the diary, and then and Major Briggs would be involved, and there was a whole thing where it was like, okay, how are they going to rescue Cooper from the Black Lodge? And so like when I was thinking about the new series, and I knew Kyle MacLachlan was going to be in it, like that seems obvious. I'm thinking, okay, they're going to have Cooper, and I was just like, how are they gonna? I mean, they can't film scenes that took place 25 years ago, right? There's just, I mean, the amount of ridiculous CGI they would have to do. Like, I just don't see Lynch even wanting to do that. Like that.
How would they show Bob?
How would they show Cooper? How would they show, any of the characters who've aged 25 years?
Like you're saying, how, if they were going to pick up back in that time period.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's no way they can pick up, they're not going to do like that X-Men scene where they took like Patrick Stewart and, like tried to make him look younger with CGI or something. That just seems like there's no way they're going to like film an extended. So it's like, okay, they're not going to do that. So what are they going to do? And like, I'm thinking, are they going to say like, oh, Cooper, remember 25 years ago when you were possessed by Bob for a while? Like, I was just trying to imagine, like, how the fuck is this going to, how are they going to pick up the story in a way that makes any sense, but it's 25 years later? And I don't know why it never entered my mind that, guess what? He's been trapped there the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And the bad Cooper, the Bob doppelganger Cooper who came out, like, disappeared. And that's how they can simply and smoothly get right past that 25 years.
Yep.
Without like there having to be like a ton of details about what happened when he came out that they have to fill in, and without having like, I mean, so without having like stories for the real Cooper, to fill in the meantime. I mean, he's been there the whole time, which is crazy. I mean, that means like, the main character of the series has not experienced the real world since the early 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, sitting in the Black Lodge for 25 years. Like, that's crazy. I'm surprised he can sit there so calmly.
Well, clearly time doesn't work the same way
but
there.
I guess he gets used to it. Yeah, true. Clearly time. You're right. Clearly time doesn't work the same
one
way.
of the things I would be interesting to note, if, Lynch would probably never say, but if Mark Frost would ever say, whether or not if they could have had these actors, particularly in the Black Lodge, look like they hadn't aged, would they have preferred that? Because
Right.
I think, it, I think you could have easily had the same story with Cooper being in the Black Lodge for 25 years and not aging.
Right.
But because the actors aged, then they don't really have that choice.
Right.
And I wonder, because particularly with Laura, I think it is a bit weird that she aged.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I don't.
they clearly wanted to replay that scene from the original.
Yeah, like the idea of dead people aging doesn't really make any sense.
Right.
But you gotta have her in the show,
Right.
So what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So yeah, those were the only two parts where I was wondering if they would have preferred, if ideally, this, if it was a novel or something, would it be like, well, they did never age.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. It was interesting how, because I thought the same thing of like, okay, what do I think is going to happen? What is the story? And I guess I was a little bit close, because I thought, well, there'll be a murder. Someone's investigating a murder. I guess I thought it would be Cooper investigating a murder for some reason.
Me too.
And then I thought
more like the original series.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was. I thought it would start. I thought it would. That's exactly right. I thought they would do like a callback to how the original started.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a bit different than that, and to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, there's so much to talk about. I'm like trying to figure out what I'm saying. But yeah, I thought starting with and I don't really quite get it. I need to watch it again. But the the first shot, Black Lodge, black and white, I was just like, genius. #genius. Because because that's the thing about the Black Lodge, like it's so colorful. What's the opposite of that? Black and white, like genius, just bravo. Like, of course we should see this in black and white. Just great. And then the giant was old, and just it just again, I just felt unworthy. I just felt like the TV watching population does not deserve this. Like, none of us have done anything to deserve this show coming back, having the bulk of the cast, having the original creators, you know what I mean, being on cable, because you could tell there was cable. There's a couple scenes. It's cable TV, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, this would not air on ABC.
Yeah, exactly. And so anyway, even like I said, even the first shot, I was just like, I was hooked, and
I couldn't believe they started with that. I was like, they're gonna start with this.
Mm-hmm.
This what?
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, I have to watch it again, of course, but I can't think of anything I didn't like about it. I can't think of one flaw. I really, really, really can't. Everything was perfect. There was nothing where I'm like, oh, I wish they would have done this, wish they would have done that. I really can't think of anything. It was just a perfect, every fucking thing was perfect. And I've never said that about anything. I just felt like this was just too great. It was too awesome. I'm going to run out of words here, because I'm just going to start repeating myself about how great this is.
I guess, I mean, if we want to get into like criticism, I can mention a couple things that I maybe didn't like, or at least like I didn't love. So,
well, let's talk about the good stuff first.
Okay.
Let's circle back on
sure.
The criticisms, because I don't think there's any, and
I have a few, but so okay. You want to focus on the good stuff? Well, there's plenty of that. So my bad stuff segment was gonna be like 30 seconds. My good stuff segment will probably be longer.
Okay, let's do 30 seconds of bad stuff. I think you're wrong about all of these points. I'll let you
it's just a couple of brief things that, so like generally speaking, like Evil Cooper, like I found a little bit underwhelming. Like he kind of seemed like a like an 80s action movie villain or something. Like he didn't really have the menace or the manic energy of Bob or of like Leland when he was in Bob mode or of the doppelganger Cooper that you see. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He was like
No,
way
he
more like
shouldn't. He shouldn't have that energy. He's not those. He's not. That's not who he is. It's been, he's living a basically normal life for 25 years. He's not going to be like, you know, manicked out.
yeah. No, I agree. I mean, there's no reason for him to maintain that tone. But generally, like, there was something a bit more generic than I would have liked. He kind of looked like Eugene from The Walking Dead. Which, like, I couldn't. Like, someone brought that up on Twitter, and I was like, I can't unsee that now. It's bothering me. Which is just, like, a simple aesthetic thing. And just generally speaking, like, the stuff he was doing, I mean, there was just something very... I don't know. Like I guess Bob's like motives and the mysterious quality of like what he was doing and why was so distant in the original series. You know, like you never really got a clear look at Bob and like his plans and his motivations. Yeah. And I guess like getting that in such a clear way.
That's the whole point. The whole point is to get that. Is like that's the whole point.
But that's when I say like comparing to the original series, like it's just hard for me. It's hard for me to deal with that because I think of that as something that I can never have. You know.
That's yeah, okay.
And I guess like it brings it down to earth, you know, in a way that felt a little bit, I don't know, a little bit jarring or whatever. Mm-hmm. I did enjoy the storyline, so I'm not saying I didn't like it at all. It's just, it took away some of the mystery, I guess, as far as Bob goes, and the execution I didn't particularly love. I liked some of his scenes. I liked when he like massaged the guy's jaw until he died. That was weird.
Yeah, that was cool. I have a theory about what that was about.
Oh, you do?
What was that?
Oh, you do? Do you want to share it now or?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I think definitely. I mean, obviously, I agree that the aesthetic, it obviously makes sense. This is what Bob would look like if he was Kyle MacLachlan. And I thought, they took the original actor, what the original actor was wearing, and made it modern. So he's got like a black leather jacket instead of like a jean jacket, right. And I generally liked it. I was cognizant of Kyle MacLachlan's performance as this character more than I wanted to be, because from what you're saying is it was a little weird in terms of I was just trying to figure out like, what is he doing as this guy versus what is normal Dale Cooper like? Of course, that the other Dale we're seeing is in the Black Lodgers isn't exactly normal,
right?
But yeah, so I'll agree with you a bit that there was something with the execution was a little weird to me in terms of the choices he was making, but in terms of the revelation of the characters, I was just going along with it because this. I don't know. To me, it made sense that we would be getting Bob's plan. To me, it basically seemed like Cooper was Bob's loophole.
It does seem that way. You're right.
He basically found a way to like stay out of the Black Lodge for 25 years and possibly forever. That's what I realized. I'm like, oh shit, he his loophole, and he was able to switch places, and that was, how he was able to stay out the whole time.
I mean, that was my first thought, actually, when I was thinking about, like, what was this like, seeing evil Cooper, in the world after all these years. Like, what, after literally decades of speculation on what would he do, what's going to happen. Seeing it play out, like, it actually did remind me, it's different, because it's, like I said, it's like, it's mythical, so it's hard to even compare, but I think the closest, like the smoke monster on Lost, where it's such an enigmatic, mysterious presence for so much of the show, and then it reveals itself, and that's like a crazy moment, and it's, in pretending to be someone else. I mean, it's a similar thing to what happened in Twin Peaks. But
Mm-hmm.
then, like, in season 6, once you see him executing his plan, like, the kind of mystique of the character drops.
The plan is because the characters want real world boring things.
Right.
I think that's the problem, and that's kind of what happens with Cooper Bob in these episodes is he's in a sort of B movie plot line here. He's got some ruffians that he's dealing with.
Yeah.
Cool rider or something.
I didn't understand. I mean, I guess if we talk about it in detail, we can like go into this more. I was deeply confused about the opening scene. Like he drives up to this place and there's like a guard out front that he like knocks out,
Mm-hmm.
And then the guard comes in and like tries to attack him again and he knocks him out. Maybe he kills him. I'm not sure what we're supposed to think.
Mm-hmm.
But and he's like, you need a better guard or whatever he says. But then he's there to like recruit people and they clearly know who he is and the people go with him. So like, why was the guy attacking him? Like, I was just really confused.
I assumed the two people were hiding out there until he came to get them or something like that. And the guy in front clearly was disposable, and so he had never seen Cooper Bob before, and that's why he tried to stop him. And but yeah, he was just a bodyguard who I think has no idea what's going on with these people.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how I took it.
It seems like they could have taught. I mean, they knew he was coming. Presumably, it's just like, why not just tell the guard? I mean, instead of. I mean, it just seems like such a waste.
Well, it's Bob. I mean, he's not constrained to human nature, as he would say.
No, but I mean the people there, like, I mean, what Bob did, I get. But, like, like, why didn't they just tell their guard, like, this guy's coming.
Well, he's not one of them. I don't think he's whatever those people are have going on. That guy is not a part of it. I think he's just they don't give a shit. Nobody cares about that guy. He's not.
Well, they didn't seem to care. I agree.
I mean, there's no need to tell him.
But it's just weird though. I mean, it's just like, but then why is he even there if nobody cares about him and he's not doing a job that anyone can? I mean, you know what I mean? It just seems like
he's there to stand guard outside and not let anybody in, and he failed. That's why if he had put up a real fight, the scene would have played differently. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was a little confused once we saw later, because I thought I thought this was another room full of strange people like Bob.
Oh yeah.
Like inhabiting souls or something who had taken over bodies or something weird.
Yeah.
I also, one of the things that this really made clear, and it's clear in Lynch's other movies too, but it was really clear in this, was how he loves incongruity. He loves big and small put together. Like the big lady and her little bitty dog.
Right.
And like the giant and the little man. He really loves these extremes juxtaposed with each other, and so the first time when Bob goes to this place, and there's that small person in the wheelchair, I thought he was the dancing man from the first two seasons, because he said, next time you see me, it won't be me. And so I thought, him in like a different body, and then I thought the other guy who was like super tall, sitting down, was like the giant, and I thought they were like in different bodies. So my context of this scene was weird to begin with. I was like, is this what we're seeing? Bob is, some other version of the Lodge or something.
Right.
But then that clearly did not appear to be the
case.
Which
Which makes sense. I mean, they had that whole convenience store thing in Fire Walk with Me.
That's what I thought. I thought it was a new place they were hanging out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what to think about it. I don't know if these are just regular people and they don't know what Bob is at all, or like, or if they are inhabiting spirits too and they've taken over those bodies. They love casting weird looking people, and I mean weird in like a good way. Weird in like a interesting way, because all of those people looked weird. They just
Yeah.
had some kind of feature that was like made them seem just a little otherworldly,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. But yeah. Oh God, this scene was weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree that it's a little strange to see Bobby have such a perfunctory task to do, but I didn't mind it because I didn't really have any expectations otherwise. You know what I mean? And this, it makes sense for this part of the story to be about that. Because at the end of the day, that's the problem with Evil Incarnate, I think.
Yeah.
Is if it wants some kind of tangible goal, that it has to kind of do it's that it has to kind of facilitate itself, then you kind of are forced to have these scenes where they're doing kind of like normal regular stuff other people would do.
Right.
And that's the only thing I could think that Bob was doing this whole time as Cooper was just like killing. I thought, well, he's probably just like killing and raping. I mean, that's what he did before.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not exactly clear what he's been doing the whole time.
Right.
Besides,
it seems clear what he's trying to do right now, but yeah, it's definitely a question, like what he's been up to all this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it begs the question: was he never able to get out from the Black Lodge? How does it square with like what Leland said that Bob was visiting him when he was a kid, and is that the same thing?
Yeah, I mean that's something that I've thought about for a long time. When they introduced that doppelganger idea in the final episode of the series, it really throws into question like the difference. I mean, when we see the doppelganger and then the doppelganger is Bob in the mirror, it's like it's just confusing because it's like, does that mean the doppelgangers are all Bob? And then, like, but is that different from what happened with Leland? Because it seemed like Leland wasn't doppelganger Leland. He was original Leland, possessed by Bob, And so it seemed like it was two different things,
Mm-hmm. I think it is two different things. Yeah, I think it is two different things.
So then I guess, like, why... I don't know, why were the rules different? Or what happened before where he could just possess someone... whereas now he has to be in doppelganger form to leave, or is a part of Bob still in the lodge, and part of him is in the doppelgangers, or only some of them, or
I think. Well, what did they say? There's a line that says they. Was it Philip Gerard that said that they need a human host? They feed on pain and sorrow. He feeds on pain and sorrow, and he needs a human host or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of questions, man. There's a lot of questions. Yeah, because when Leland, so this must be a Fire Walk with Me. So after we see spoiler alert, Leland kill Laura, and he's got Bob. And that was the thing I forgot about that too was that. Laura, because that's kind of Laura. The sort of plot of Fire Walk with Me is Laura realizing who's raping her, and so that and it's just so brilliant when Leland's like, I always thought you knew it was me, and then Bob's like, I never knew you thought it was me, and they have the exact opposite point of view on that. It's like a Lindelof thing where they have the exact opposite. It's like Locke and Echo watching the orientation video, finding out this information from Laura. They have the exact opposite response. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
And how they both were wrong, and which causing the question. I thought Bob had read her journal, her diary.
Well, he found out from I guess he's saying before the diary, he never knew. She knew it was him.
Oh, before the diary.
Yeah, I mean that's what Leland originally says. Your diary. I always thought you knew it was me. Like he found out from the diary.
That's right. And Bob found out because he found out. Okay,
yeah, exactly. Like they both found out.
What's that shot, right? So when that's when Laura kind of realizes it's him is when she goes home and she sees Bob in her room
Yep.
behind her dresser where the diary was hidden. I
Yep.
guess it wasn't there because she had already given it to the other the claustrophobic guy.
Exactly, Harold. Yeah.
But he was looking for it. But
Right.
when did he read it if it wasn't then? I'm confused.
Well, he had already read it, so like she came home, she
Oh,
took
that's
it
right.
out. She found out there were pages
They
ripped
were
out.
pages ripped out. That's right.
So yeah, he had already looked at it, and I guess he was going for it again. And yeah, that's when she runs outside.
I'm a little bit confused on how the integration of Leland's split personality here. Sometimes he remembers and sometimes it doesn't, and like
Well,
yeah.
yeah,
when yeah, there's, I mean, we don't have to get into it here, but
yeah.
there's a lot there.
It seems like a largely. I mean, we'll see where the series goes. It seems like an irrelevant thing for this series.
Yeah.
But if we ever do a retrospective or anything like that, if there's ever a moment to talk about the original series, I mean, the question of like what Leland knew, like how he experienced that whole time period of being possessed by Bob and doing those things. What of what he did was his own motivations and what was Bob's? Can you break that down in some kind of reasonable way? Like those are like some of the most difficult and interesting questions about the original series. And we could talk about that stuff for a long time because that one line, I always thought you knew it was me. I mean, that reminds me of, oh, you idiot! You just killed the only thing keeping him out. It's like he walks in and just does this like complete like what? You always thought she knew it was you? What?
Mm-hmm.
Like it just completely turns upside down. Like what I thought they were telling us, in his death thing, he's like, I didn't remember. I had no idea. They made me do these things. I didn't know what was happening, And it's like, but I always thought you knew it was me. Like what?
It seems like there's times when he's normal Leland, and there's times when he's like a hybrid, and he has access to the memories, but he's not. But Bob isn't necessarily inhabiting him. Or you know what I mean, sort of a thing, where he can kind of remember, and it is sort of blocked. There's that scene when they're driving in the car and he's sort of kind of remembering, but he's revving the engine so he doesn't have to deal with it, and
right.
And Laura's like, "Dad, are you okay? Like, what the fuck is happening?" And it's just such a oh god, what a crazy scene. And
that scene is great, yeah.
Oh man, so many crazy things, but what else?
Okay, so the other small thing that like
one more complaint
would be like whatever. It's like it's not a major complaint, but just if I must,
Stu,
I felt like the scenes from the original Twin Peaks characters, like I mean not like Cooper, obviously the Black Lodge stuff was like.
Yeah, you want to complain about that?
I'm not going to complain about that. I couldn't believe how much of that we got, by the way. Like, I wasn't even sure if we were going to see the Black Lodge at all in the new series, or maybe briefly. Like, I never would have guessed that we would get such extended Black Lodge stuff just in the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, just as more than what we got before.
Way more. It's so rare in the original series. There's a dream in episode 2, and then you see it in the final episode of the series. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some in Fire Walk with Me. That's it. I mean, it's so just and the amount of stuff that happens in there is crazy. Anyway, the stuff with the original characters, like the scene with Lucy, the scene with Hawk and the Log Lady is kind of an exception because that does seem like it's tying into things. But the scene with Jerry and Ben Horn, the scene with Dr. Jacoby getting the shovels, they just all seemed kind of disconnected from the main plot. You know what I mean? Like the main plot lines, of course, they are also somewhat disconnected. You have the New York thing, the South Dakota thing, a little bit of Las Vegas in there. But Evil Cooper, like, tied into some of those and could tie into more as time goes on. And it did seem like there was a connection there, and it seemed like there was an overall narrative building there. But then like those scenes, and the scene in the roadhouse at the end of part 2,
Yeah.
where it's just like, I mean, I didn't have a problem with the scenes, but it was.
Yeah, those are all set up for other things, and there are other storylines that are getting going while we're, watching the main thing go. That they're, because they're gonna have to take time away from the main storyline at some point, and we'll focus on this other stuff more. I think the Jacoby thing might connect, directly.
Yeah. How is he gonna use 3 shovels by himself? Just a quick question. It was like, no, I got this. What are you gonna do with 3 shovels? Like,
Yeah. Well, we'll find out. He's got 3 holes to dig.
Okay. That's it then.
Yeah, so one of the moments I loved was speaking of these I mean, the hog and log lady was great. I mean, just she's. I mean, I don't know if they like cut the actress's hair or what, because she looks like she's dying and stuff. But I was just so happy to see these people. It was insane. And then like that moment, Andy and the receptionist and her whole thing was just classic comedy once again. Like, one's fishing and one's sick. It could matter. It could make a difference. I'm like, of course it could make a difference. And the guy was just, and I love the guy when he just like starts over. He's just like, just gonna start over in there and say, "Is Sheriff Truman available?"
Maybe it'll work this time.
I love when they're talking about the case, and Hawk has the files. And then he's like, all right, tomorrow morning I'm gonna lay out all the files and I'll bring the coffee and donuts. My heart just skipped a beat. I was like, holy fucking shit, man. You know what I mean? And I'm upset we didn't actually see that scene.
Right.
I really wanted to see the scene with the donuts all laid out and like oh man, I love that. It was.
I assume that's coming because I think that next day hasn't happened yet because I think that night he goes out to the.
Right. That was the night. Okay.
Yeah. So I think we will get that scene.
Good call. Yeah, I'm like, oh, that was like brilliant. I was so ready for that. I didn't recognize Shelly at a certain point, and then I was like, that's Shelly. And then her daughter.
It's crazy.
And then James was like, I was like, oh my god, this is so weird seeing these people, and then it was like hilarious when they were like, James had a motorcycle accident, and she was like, oh, he's fine. They say he's slow now, and I'm like, oh, James, what happened? Oh man, it's so sad. They're just like strangely like appeasing him. Oh, Jay, like, you're still cool, James. You're still cool. He's always been cool. That Jay. It's just there's a sadness to that, that faded star kind of thing.
Yeah.
That I thought was like, they managed to wrap all that in like really quickly. Like, James basically didn't go anywhere. He didn't do anything. He had a motorcycle accident, and that's about it. And now everyone just reminds him when he used to be cool, and like he's just kind of living off of that.
Right.
I thought that was sad and strange and interesting.
Definitely.
And then Balthazar Getty shows up. I was like, oh,
that's so weird.
God, just the best. What else? Jesus Christ, there's so much. I don't even know what I saw. Yeah, like I was telling you before we started podcasting, like after I watched the first 2 episodes, I mean, I really wanted to watch 3 and 4 because I wanted the party to continue, but I just couldn't imagine getting more story and like having to process it without even knowing what I just watched. And then I was like, what I should do? I should rewatch the first 2 because I don't even know what I saw. But then I was just like, oh God, I don't want to like overanalyze it now. I don't want to go, oh, this is what I thought, and this is what I thought before, and this is what's happening. I was just like, I just want to experience it, having just let it sit on my brain and like marinate in my subconscious for an evening.
Yeah.
And I once I was done with the first 2 episodes, I literally did nothing but think about it for like an hour and a half. I was just like, what did I just watch? What just happened? Like, and I was just, again, it didn't feel like TV. It felt like, it felt like proof we were living in the Matrix or something. It just felt like reality can't be real. This does not happen. Like, if it wasn't for all the wars and horror in the world, I really would have been like, this. I'm dreaming. This
Right.
can't be real. So much cool stuff. Yeah, seeing the Horn Brothers, and I thought again in terms of like modernizing the show. When I forgot the younger brother.
Jerry.
Yeah, I was gonna call him Jackie.
It's Ben and Jerry.
Yeah, that's right. It's Ben and Jerry. When he was talking about his edible he was eating,
Mhm.
I thought that was a cool way to like do a Lynchian thing about food, but make it modern and like millennial and make it about pot.
Right.
I thought that was really, really interesting, like how they just completely that was a little bit of an update instead of it being
Yeah.
like cherry pie,
Yeah.
here's kind of like modern thing, I thought that scene was interesting.
Jerry
And
was
it was
always
really
bringing like weird food stuff. Like that was one of the running things from the original series. So it was sort of a callback, but also kind of bringing it into modern times, and even saying like, "Oh, it's business now."
mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was it. And that shot was weird too. Did you notice how they were sitting on opposite sides of the frame, as far on the edge of the frame as you could possibly be? It
I
was
did.
weird. I
He
was
loves
like,
those long shots.
it was like crazy. Like trying to he was just getting using that widescreen.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, all that stuff was cool. So should we talk about the box? I mean, I swear,
Sure.
like David Lynch is the king of boxes, and here he is again with the box.
King of boxes.
He is, man. He's the king of boxes.
It's funny.
It was just
This box is not a metaphor.
this box. Oh my
It's
god!
actually a box.
It's actually a box. It's actually real. Yeah, I mean, obviously this storyline is a little reminiscent of the Swan Station, from Lost. This idea of, is this an experiment? There's cameras watching. There's a person who replaced someone else.
Right.
Doing the same experiment, and they don't really know if it's real or not, and what they're doing, and it's just kind of perfunctory. It's a job, I got paid. And that's the other thing too that always gets me when when you try to figure out these things, like, who is this guy, what is he doing? And then you realize, he just answered an ad and he just got a job. He doesn't know anything, and that's always the best place to be for these people, right? Is to not know anything. Even though we get like Desmond in the Swan Station when we first see him, we hope he knows all the answers, but guess what? He doesn't.
Right.
And that's usually how it goes in a mystery, because the person, especially in the beginning of a story, the person that you encounter is not going to be the person with all the answers, or else the story's going to be over, and it's better if they actually know very little, like this guy. I thought he was a great actor too, like that. Again, like David Lynch, I don't know what he does to these people. I don't know what he does to actors. I don't know any other director, or I can name maybe Kubrick, Jarmusch, people who like can get their actors to do the exact thing they want them to do and make them all in the same world. Like every single David Lynch joint, the acting is this exact same level, except for the Elephant Man. That's a different thing.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's got his thing that he does, and he is able to make any actor do it, and this dude I thought was genius. Like when he's that first scene when he's like talking to the girl and how he was just talking to her, and these very basic back and forth dialogue scenes, were just riveting. Just great. I'm like, and he reminded me of like a young Kyle MacLachlan or something. Like I was just like, wow, he's really doing something. And while doing very little, it's just like the best. You're a naughty girl. You're a bad girl, Tracy. And and he's got his thing. That's the other thing too. Like that scene with them in a room with a security guard that could have taken place any time in history after the invention of like electricity. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It was just such a even though they're doing this weird almost high-tech thing in the next room, like that scene was just that could have been it could have been an original Twin Peaks, it could have been in
Mm-hmm.
anything. I mean, it's just such a basic scene. They're talking about coffee.
Of
You know what I mean?
course.
He's been around forever. You know what I mean? So it's just like timeless. You know, like these kind of he does these scenes that are just like that don't age. You know, because they're just like basic character scenes. What's her name shows up? What's her name? Oh, I can't quite think of her name. Hi, my name is something Judd. Ashley Judd.
Oh, Ashley Judd, right? Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's talk about the box thing. Let's.
Cemetery scene. Yeah. So I mean, I have some questions about this box.
I have no answers. Not the box. Oh man.
Before we get to the box, like I guess I have some questions about the surrounding stuff. So yeah, like I think you got the basic idea, which is that like this guy is like a college student or something, and he's just doing this for money. Like he, answered an ad, and so he just kind of sits in the room or whatever.
Yeah.
Also, though, there's a security guard there.
Yeah.
And then Tracy shows. So this guy, by the way, never gets a name. I had to look it up because I was like, what is that guy's name? He gets no name. Tracy gets a name. He doesn't get a name.
Did you notice in the credits the person credited as question marks?
I didn't notice what was in the credits. I looked it up on the internet and no one had a name for him. So.
But is it? But I couldn't tell if is it the actor. Because I thought it was in the credits. I thought they were talking about perhaps the thing that showed up in the box, but maybe it's this actor's name. I don't know who the person was. I just saw someone credited as like 7 question marks.
Oh yeah, no, I think that was the Giant.
Oh, is that the Giant?
I think they credited the Giant. If it's Carol Struken or whatever, that's the Giant. Right. Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was the thing in the box. They were like, yeah, this is what its name is, question marks, because we don't know what the fuck that is. Okay.
Yeah, I was surprised they didn't just credit the Giant as the Giant. I thought it was strange to call it, like, we as much as we know any character from the Black Lodge, we know who the Giant is. Mm-hmm. So I was surprised they felt the need to put question marks, whereas like, Mike or whatever, can just be credited the normal way.
So so you're saying the guy who's doing the box experiment is he not in the credits at all?
I'm not sure. I guess I should figure out what the actor's name who plays that part is, and I don't.
Model. There's man in suit. I don't know what that is. There's the guard.
Close.
Yeah, I know, it's very close. Is this alphabetical order? It says in alphabetical order. Deputy Brennan. Daria. Sam Colby, who's that?
Oh, could that be him?
Benjamin Rosenfeld.
Sam Colby.
Yeah, that's him. So his name is Sam Colby.
How do you spell it?
SAMCOLBY.
Oh.
What are you looking at?
That was the way I spelled it. I can't find him. I don't see any record.
What are you looking at?
The internet.
What why are you searching? What are you doing? His IMDb is there.
I can't find him on IMDb.
Yeah, Twin Peaks, Sam Colby.
I got Samantha Colby character.
Samantha Colby. Oh, yeah. Character. Oh.
character?
Just search for Benjamin Rosenfeld, man, and you'll see his IMDb, and then it links to Twin Peaks.
Okay.
Rosenfield, sorry.
Rosenfield. Oh wait, is that the guy?
That's the guy.
Sam Colby. That's the character's name.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Sorry.
Oh, you thought that was the actor's name?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's called a communication, kids. Miscommunication.
Yes.
Okay. So he does have a name. I don't know why people didn't have it on the internet. You said.
Yeah, no one seems to know what his name was. I don't think they said it in the episode.
No one knew because they didn't say it, but yeah, it's here in the credits.
Okay, so anyway, good. There we go. So, so Tracy shows up, and she's got coffee. Now, she knows Sam Colby. I guess they seem to know each other.
Yeah.
Though I don't know exactly how well.
They're acquaintances.
Yeah.
Seems like.
So she's bringing him coffee, and then she's clearly trying to get in the room.
Yep.
And she's not able to get in. The security guard specifically says she can't go in. Yep. It's supposed to be this secret thing. And she even tries to sneak a look at him when he's entering the code into the little keypad at the door there.
Mm-hmm.
So then later, I guess the next night maybe, I think maybe they say anyway, she comes back. It's the coffee routine again, but this time the security guard's not there, and old Sam Colby specifically looks. He looks in the bathroom and he's not there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a question right there. What happened to the security guard guy?
Yeah, I agree. That is a question.
So then he's like, well, I guess you can come in now, because I guess he doesn't have a stake in it, so he doesn't really care that much about keeping people out, and the security guard, I guess that's his job to keep people out.
Yeah, I thought it was a little weird too, because I thought Sam was sort of like, no, you can't be in here, but it seems like mostly it was a security guard, and he's like, well, if he's not here, it's on you if you want to come in, and not that big a deal to me.
Yeah. So she gets in there finally, and then they just start, getting it on. And I'm like,
I knew it.
You knew it?
As soon as once they started making out and stuff, I'm like, okay, this something's gonna come in the box, guys.
I know. But
something's up to watch.
No, you're right. That was clearly coming. But I'm just wondering, I thought she wanted to get in there and see what was in there.
I thought she was like a reporter. I thought she was trying to do a scoop about the experiment that was in there, and I thought she was the classic nosy reporter or something, and that's what I thought her thing was until this second time she came back, and it was kind of clear that that wasn't the case.
Yeah, is it just well, he spends his nights here, and this is the only way I can be around him at night? I don't know.
No, I think she wanted to see what was in there, and that's basically what they did. But they were like, you want to pass the time by making out. I think that was the idea.
Right.
It's both things. She's interested in this dude, but she's also interested in the, and this kind of creepy thing that she's probably only heard a little bit about. Or maybe nothing about it. Maybe that's why she's curious. She's like, he won't tell her anything about what's happening in there or something. That's kind of how it came off to me. That she's interested in him, but yeah, she did want to go in there.
Yeah, it really stood out how when stuff starts happening, her back's turned. She doesn't notice for some time. I mean, eventually he notices and gets worried.
Yeah.
Rightly.
Yeah, it was great. One of the best horror scenes ever. I mean, just so good. Just too perfect, man. I just loved it. I was just like the thing, and you can never quite see its face, and you can't quite
Yep.
tell if it's scary or if you're just looking at it wrong.
Right.
And then when it hit the glass, and then it didn't break, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess the glass is strong enough to,
Mm-hmm.
to keep it in, and then it's
Nope.
not.
Nope.
And then the way it killed them was so crazy. This like strange like
Mm-hmm.
death by 1,000 cuts, but like they were sort of frozen in fear, kind of, or it was like in fast motion, and they were sort of slow down. I couldn't quite tell. It was just an otherworldly moment, and it didn't.
Yeah.
It was just so fucking horrific.
So
yeah,
that's an example of something that I was not able to process when I was originally watching it. Like, I honestly didn't even notice that they were being cut by this thing.
Oh.
I didn't even notice. I was so distracted by, like, what is that thing? I was staring at the thing, and it's like flinging around. I don't even know how to describe the motion. It's like going back and forth rapidly or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just so fixated on staring at the thing, like trying to understand, like, what just came out of that box. I wasn't looking at them at all.
Oh.
And so I didn't even notice the first time. And I was surprised, like, to see, online and stuff, like, what? They're probably dead? Like, what? Why? I thought the thing just kind of haunted them and menaced them. I didn't notice that it actually did violence to them.
Yeah.
But when I watched it again, I was like, wow, I can't believe I didn't notice that. It was quite clear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there was a lot of blood, but I can see being fixated. It reminded me of the smoke monster. When it was attacking them, it seemed like that's the kind of thing the smoke monster could have done. Just be this kind of like cloud of violence,
Yeah.
Thought that was really interesting. And again, with incongruity, like after probably the most horrific, I think, scene so far, I think, in terms of like regular pure horror. The very next scene is like slapstick with this big lady and her little dog, and like this hard cut. And that's the other thing about Lynch is he goes from the top of like the lightest slapstickiest comedy down to the depths of horror. There's no like, most of it's in the middle, but like few directors really have the full gamut to work with, and and that they kind of work with the whole time. Some people are all at the top, or all at the bottom, or all in the middle.
Right.
But he's going from zenith to nadir, back and forth, and putting those together just like a sandwich. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. A lot of extremes. Yeah, that sequence with the woman and like the apartment. Mm-hmm. That was such a strange sequence. It really reminded me of that sequence from Mulholland Drive with Jacob.
It felt like a outtake from Mulholland Drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, with Jacob, the whole slapstick thing.
Yeah. He's trying to kill one guy, and then he ends up like shooting someone next door, and then like the cleaning guy comes in, and now he has to shoot him.
This lady called back to the other lady he shot, the big fat lady.
Yeah.
And then that was played for comedy, and it was very. I don't know how he does it. He just gets actors and puts them on his set and presses record, and somehow it's magic.
It was crazy how that thing built to me, because like I when I was watching it again, I was thinking like the main point of all this is just like, let's get in the apartment. It's just kind of like business until we get in the apartment, silly business. But like something I noticed is that she. She has a key the whole time, which is like the punchline.
Yeah, but what's great is that's not what he asked her, right? He asked her, "Who's the manager here?"
Right.
And she goes down this whole thing about fighting the manager, and it was great because when she was like, "Had the key the whole time," like it's like, yeah, I got the joke, but why didn't you just say that before? And I'm like, oh, well, technically he didn't ask her that.
True. True, and yeah, she didn't think that might be a useful thing to point
Yeah, at
out.
the time she was like trying to do the man, like, oh well, the manager here. Yeah, I got a little confused in this part about who the names of the people and who was who, and this guy's going to see Chip, and how do you know? I love that. How do you know I'm going to go see Chip? You know, and it's like he doesn't know. It's a completely coincidence that he, you know, it's just so funny.
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So they go out to see this guy, who's like a maintenance man or something,
Hmm.
and they ask him about the manager's brother because supposedly he has a key. I mean, all of this is like stuff that didn't even need to happen, but
No.
yeah, his reaction is like, "What? How did you?" And so then, like, there's even a scene with him by himself where
Yeah.
he calls and he's talking about Harvey, and it's like he's got a whole story going on.
It's got a whole storyline that's happening here. Yeah, it's
And I'm
interesting.
like, what? Like, why is this guy a thing? Like, isn't the apartment enough? Like, why is there another
I think
thing?
that was the whole. I mean, why introduce this character if not? Yeah, that was the whole thing. They could have, went slapstick with just the lady, but yeah, having to go all
Yeah.
the side to the back and talk to this guy, and then he's got a whole thing, and there's like some money or something.
He's got a briefcase or something. He's gonna bring it to Chip. This is Chip, and this is for me and Chip, and
Yeah.
stay out of this, Harvey.
Yeah,
And
you said
like,
you didn't
what?
want any Harvey. Yeah, something, and
It's like,
yeah,
what?
yeah, it was crazy.
It's just, yeah, it's like, is that, I mean, I guess we're gonna get more on that, but it was just so like jarring to me, I guess, that like, the main point I thought would be finding the body or bodies, I guess, or body and head. Anyway, but then there's this side plot. Is it related? I mean, it seems like it should be, but
Mhm.
so I mean, I don't know. Is Harvey Cooper? Does Cooper know Harvey? Does it tie in somehow? Um, it seems like it should. Obviously, Evil Cooper is tied in with that plot. They make that really clear in episode 2. Um, but yeah, it's so I mean, and then we have this weird thing of this librarian. Um, her head's there, but it's some guy's body. They
Mhm.
don't know where the missing head or the missing body are, and they also don't know who the body is. It's like
Yeah.
it's really, it's really a mess of a mystery. I
Hmm.
feel like that alone, could fuel a series.
And that's the kind of thing I thought they were going to start with. Like, here's the new murder, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Bob's back at it, and here we need to go track down Bob because he's doing this, and
Right. Right. Yeah. 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 But it kind of seems like that's tangential.
it seems like I mean, I can only imagine there's another person like Bob, an inhabiting spirit who's doing this or something. That's my guess at this point. And we'll connect to that somehow. I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea how it's all supposed to connect.
Yeah, so that's where we get into the Matthew Lillard storyline.
Yeah.
Who I didn't recognize at all, by the way. I was like,
The whole time.
no, he seemed familiar, but I was like, I don't know who that guy is, but he seems familiar. And I saw his name in the credits, and then I was like, oh shit. I guess I don't know if I've seen him in anything for so long that I didn't know what he looked like now.
H has gotten him. Unfortunately, I recognized him, and I was super happy because he's one of my favorite actors. Because Hackers is one of my favorite movies,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw, and I was like, oh man, this is great. But yeah, he does look different. He's lost his face just looks a bit different shape, I think. So yeah, I can see not recognize him off the bat, especially the context.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah. I'm not expecting someone from that era or whatever to be playing a principal, even though I guess it makes sense now. He's old enough to do
Yeah,
that.
so that's what I assume is someone took him over, like Bob took over
That's what
Leyland,
it seems like. Yeah.
having an affair with this woman, but then one night this thing happened or something, and
And he experienced it as a dream somehow.
yeah,
Um,
or he has a memory of it, but he just doesn't think it was real,
Yeah. It could be that. But it turns out his wife is conspiring with Bob, Evil Cooper. So that's a reveal we get in episode 2. So that ties in Cooper with that plot.
Mm-hmm.
Also, can we just what was going on in that jail cell?
Oh man. Just when you thought, I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, man. Just when you thought, you knew what was happening or you had any handle, they just do a pan to the right, and in like 2 cells down, there's a guy in all black who just fucking, and not only does he like disappear, but he kind of reappears a little bit as he floats away.
And then his head sort of reappears and floats.
Oh,
it's like,
man,
what?
Just craziness upon craziness. I have no context for that. I have no idea what that is.
That was so weird.
It reminded me of the person behind the dumpster in Mulholland Drive.
Yeah.
That kind of dark spirit, maybe. But I just have no idea. That again, like that did not need to be there. That was icing on top of icing on top of icing.
I was watching that thinking, is that a real, did that actually happen? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Like, what? I just couldn't believe it was on screen.
No one saw it but you know what I mean? It was a weird thing where the end of the scene is about Matthew Lillard, and then it just leaves him. It just bye.
Yeah.
It's just something else is happening in the corner, and you're just like, what?
It just pans, like a few cells down, and it's like, huh? And there's no context. I mean, there's no there's no sense.
No anything. Yeah, there's no. You have nothing that's come before makes any sense with that.
Nope.
Nothing that came after.
Not connects to that. I mean, it's just like, what is going on in that jail? Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know what to think. And it's not even his cell. It's like 2 down from him. So it's just like
down. It's not right next door. It's 2 down.
Yeah, so it's just like, why? I mean, obviously we can't answer that question, but that was such a what the fuck.
Mm-hmm. Does it didn't look like any other character we've ever seen?
Nope.
The style, the makeup style and all that just was
nobody from the Black Lodge. Nobody from the. Yeah, I mean, I think the scary. The scary woman behind Winkies from Mulholland Drive is probably the closest thing, just from a Lynch perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe that's where they're going with that. I don't know. I wonder how that's going to tie into anything. I mean, it's just there are so many.
And it looked weird. It was like frozen.
Yeah.
But not like artificially still. That because they could have done the digital trick to make it like a single frame and make it look like he wasn't moving at all.
Right.
But he was frozen in this way where he swayed a little bit, so you could tell he was just being frozen.
Right.
So it was like imperfect in that way. That made it more interesting. And then he that was again like he disappears. But then his head, kind of reappears, and you see the digital effect of them just moving the frame up.
Yep.
Which looks hokey, but Lynch does that every now and then, where he makes these hokey effects, and it's like, if this thing were to happen in reality, it would still be horrifying, even though on film it looks hokey. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just. I have no idea what that's about. I thought this whole thing about the couple was interesting too, because they kind of flipped it. In the first episode,
totally.
It was a classic like Leave It to Beaver couple, and maybe he's wrongfully accused, and the doting wife who's just worried about who's coming to dinner.
Right.
You flip it, and they're both mean people,
having affairs,
and I know about yours, and you know about mine, and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, maybe you guys deserve what's happening to you. That was that's fucking crazy. I thought that was really insane.
Yeah.
So
it's a whole drama on its own.
There, the middle part of episode 2 is the big thing we got to talk about. I guess we go to it now. I don't know if we should. I just feel like we should gear up for it somehow more than we have. Because the log lady stuff I thought was great. I love her fucking log. I remember used to being annoyed by that, and now it's just like the best thing ever. And I love the way she was holding the phone. Like, little details. Like she didn't have it against her ear like normal people.
Right.
She's holding it right close, and I'm
Just
just
the way,
like,
yeah.
why is that the choice they made? I have no idea why that makes any sense, but it's visually appealing. And David Lynch loves lamps next to phones on tables.
Definitely.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
And I love her relationship with Hawk. I love that kind of a thing of like,
Oh yeah.
they're old friends, you know, not like best friends, but they've gone way back. And
Right.
even though
History.
she's super eccentric, he takes her seriously,
Right.
and like he cares, you know. And there's, I mean, it's just, you just get this thing you can't get unless you have the same actors come back 25 years later. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
you just can't fake this stuff. And God, the One Armed Man, like all these people being there
Yeah.
was just so. Every time there's a original actor, I just felt lucky. I'm just wow. We're so. I mean, for such a huge cast and have only had a couple people die after time is really remarkable. That, you know, there's so many left to still be in this thing.
I know. Yeah, after all that time, it's crazy.
After all that time, so I get. Oh, you got something?
I was just gonna say, so like Hawk goes out to the you know, Glastonbury Grove, like the circle of sycamore trees and the little pool of burnt engine oil or whatever that
the Beatles album
stuff is.
Grove? That's not a Beatles album. Sorry. Sounds like a Beatles album.
Like Abbey Road?
No, just Glastonbury Grove just sounds like a British thing. It
is a British thing. It's supposedly like where King Arthur was buried.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
they talk about that in the original series, and then Pete says King Arthur was buried in England.
That's right. Oh, Pete, there's a fish in the percolator, Pete.
Yeah, it's too bad he can't be in the new series.
Oh God,
he was so great.
Yeah.
But anyway, like Hawk goes out there, and I was so sure that Cooper was gonna come out, you know. I was like, oh, here's the moment. Here's the moment when the true Cooper is gonna emerge. Of course, that doesn't happen. We get a transition to this crazy sequence.
Yeah.
You know, back in there. Just to mention, like, quickly, another moment where I was sure something was going to happen that didn't. When they finally cut to the Palmer house and they show, like, Sarah Palmer sitting at home watching this, like, nature documentary.
Oh, God. Oh, man.
I was so sure that, you know, because she's on the couch, you got a mirror behind her. And, you know, they do several callbacks in this episode. I mean, there's several things that call back to stuff from the series.
Yeah.
I was so sure, you know, because the original pilot ends with her sleeping on the couch. She sits up suddenly, and she has this vision of the necklace, you know, being found by someone. And also Bob's in the mirror behind her.
Okay, yeah.
Like that's one of those famous legendary things about the show, that like that was a part of the creation of Bob. Like the fact that Frank Silva was just working as like a set, I don't know, dresser or something like that.
Yeah.
And he was like moving the bed or something. He was crouched behind the bed, and David Lynch really liked how he looked crouched behind the bed. So he was like, "Can I film you like that? You want to be an actor? You want to be in this thing, maybe?" and he's like, "Sure, yeah, I'll do that." And so they filmed him like crouching. I mean, you see it in the series, like that footage. They use it a few times. And then the next thing that happened is they were filming that scene, and they were like, "Oh no, we got to do it again. Someone was in the mirror. We could see it." And he was like, "Who was in the mirror?" And it was Frank Silva. And he was like, "Boom, that's it."
Wow, that's it, man.
That means it's the right thing.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's the difference between David Lynch and a lot of directors. He's just like, when the accidental thing happens, if it works, you just go with that thing.
Yeah, if it feels right, if the accident feels right. Yeah, I actually have never seen that. I'm actually looking at it right now. That shot of him in the mirror. I've
Oh
never.
yeah. You can. I mean, it's not like super clear, but you can tell
Oh,
it's him.
see? Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for it, you can definitely tell.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was just like, okay, that's gonna be, that's gonna be a
Yeah.
significant thing.
Why is he just standing there? Just watching the scene. I wonder if he was like, I'm just gonna stand in reflections until I get on this thing for real. I'm just gonna pop in here and there. But yeah, man. So okay, so you thought they were gonna make a callback, and what did you think?
Yeah, so I was like, because like Sarah Palmer scene, I think it's the second to last scene in part 2. The last scene ends up being the Roadhouse thing.
Yeah.
But I was so sure they were going to do a callback to the pilot. I was like, oh, she's going to have another vision, and we're going to see like something in the mirror. I was just sure they were going to do that because they had her on the couch with the mirror behind her, and I was sure there was going to be some kind of reference callback thing, and that's how the episode is going to end. And of course, that's not what happened at all.
Oh man.
Just when I thought I could predict it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an interesting segment. It's weird that she's just like living alone in that giant house.
Well, as a woman who's so neurotic as she was always, thanks to probably to her, crazy husband.
Definitely.
She's watching this horrific, like, anxiety-producing nature show of these like lionesses, lion-A.
There you go, lion-A.
Yeah, I forgot. We figured that out in the other podcast. Tearing apart this wildebeest or whatever. Yeah, and she's just like smoking and drinking and like and chilled. This is her entertainment. I thought that was an interesting kind of reveal to show where she's at. I mean, she's lost she lost her dog, she lost her husband.
Yeah.
And she's just alone with these animals. I mean, he's definitely playing up the reflection, and the mirrors behind her, reflecting the animals on the TV and stuff, and she's getting more anxious as she's watching it. But I thought this was like great and just weird as shit.
Yep.
And I'm just like, oh geez, oh Sarah.
Yeah.
She looks like surprised when it kills the thing. It's
right.
Like, it's gonna happen. But okay, so can we? Okay, yeah. Then the Roadhouse thing. Balthazar Getty shows up. The world applauds. What a great. Oh man, I'm not worthy. Okay, so speaking of not being worthy, we got this super extended Black Lodge.
Okay. Yeah.
Middle, which is just the fucking best thing ever. I mean, how do you make red drapes be this iconic? I don't know why that can be possible. But yeah, it was crazy seeing the Red Room in HD. Being able to really see the texture on the couches and the chairs.
Yeah.
And all that was like really interesting. But yeah, you've got so the big thing here, I think, for the Black Lodge scenes, and I think it was in the first episode or the first part, was when Cooper talked. Which has he ever talked in the Black Lodge?
Yeah. He talks in the Black Lodge multiple times. I think pretty much every time they show him in the Black Lodge, he talks at least a little bit.
Does he?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't talk a lot, but yeah, he always talks like front ways, like the normal way.
The normal way.
Yeah, he doesn't do the backwards thing. They've done that since the beginning.
Yeah.
Because I like, for example, in the dream in episode 2, the little man from another place says like, she's my cousin, but doesn't she look almost exactly like Laura Palmer? And he says, but it is Laura Palmer.
That's right. Yeah.
And then, are you Laura Palmer? And then she says the line she says in this episode.
I her, yeah.
Exactly. In the final episode, he has a fairly extended exchange with Wyndham Earl. I mean, I say extended for the Black Lodge, where like he's like I'll let her go if you give me your soul, and he says sure, I agree or whatever. And then then Bob shows up and says like he can't do that, and then I'll take his. And,
that's great.
Yeah.
He has to get the rules. He can't do that. Now I get to get his. This is great.
Exactly.
Like, you know what that's like? I don't think I ever mentioned that to you. But I remember thinking that at some point it's like the end of God, what's it called? That Johnny Depp movie, The Ninth Gate.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that where the bad guy doesn't know the rules and kind of like trips himself up and gets himself killed.
Yeah, you're right.
He's playing with something bigger than what he knows. It reminds me of that moment.
The Frank Langella stuff. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's a lot like that. It's a similar idea. Yeah, like he was playing around with that thing and he didn't really know how it worked, and he was just kind of bullshitting his way through it, and finally somebody had to step in, and
he encountered something that like he had no control over, and
exactly,
which makes sense.
It just immediately destroyed after that whole build up, which is pretty extended. So there's also the thing in Fire Walk with Me when Cooper tells Laura don't take the ring.
Okay. So we on the next podcast when we do Extended, I want to talk about that ring because there's a lot I don't understand about the ring.
The ring is hard to understand, and I think the ring might make a comeback, although obviously it doesn't in these episodes.
Yeah.
But, the closest thing to a ring reference was when Bob Cooper pulls out that little playing card.
Mm-hmm.
With the symbol on it that isn't the symbol from the ring, but it's at least like vaguely similar to the symbol from the ring. It's sort of like the symbol from the ring, but instead of a diamond in the middle, it's like a giant, sort of circular thing.
Yeah.
This is what I want. Great.
So in the Black Lodge scene, I thought it was weird when the one-armed man like vanished.
Mm-hmm.
Because Lynch doesn't. I feel like we don't usually see people vanishing. It's usually like, oh, we'll cut away and cut back and they're not there or something.
Right.
But it was interesting to see. I mean, obviously the person in the jail cell vanished, kind of disappeared, fluttered. Yeah. But then he
and
like
Cooper kind of vanished in the very first
scene. But he out. Yeah, he like did something else. Something else happened there.
It wasn't just a quick disappearance. It was like a fizzle or a.
He like tuned out or like.
Yeah.
It was very, very strange. It was a strange digital effect, and I was wondering again, like in terms of what they would have done before or something. Like, is that an effect we would have seen in the original Twin Peaks or something if they had the technology, or because it was a very particular kind of like digital effect, and I was like, I wonder why that choice versus like something else,
Right.
Like, oh, now that we can do it this way, I'll do it this way. Otherwise, I would have just like blanked them out or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, okay. So then we get the scene, with Laura. Which was, I mean, Jesus Christ.
It's a callback to the dream thing from episode 2.
Yeah. I mean, to get this again, but I'm just saying the actress, like to have her back. And,
oh yeah.
Seeing this, like her most iconic part is just
blinking in reverse.
Blinking in reverse.
She blinks a lot. There's a lot of focus on the blinking.
A lot of reverse blinks.
But then she goes up to him. I mean, it's the same thing that happens in the original version. Like, she goes up to him, they kiss, and then she whispers something in his ear.
Yeah.
And he seems shocked by it.
Yeah, he's just like, oh. Like, So the first time she did that, she told her who killed her, right?
Yeah. They eventually reveal in episode 16 that she said, "My father killed me."
Yeah. And so now she whispers something, and he's sort of surprised and horrified by it, which I thought was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And then the moment that I will never forget in my entire life, that on top of everything that's happened, I mean, this was already great. It was already a great return. I was already hooked. I already loved it. I didn't need any more. I didn't need anything else. And then she took her face off.
Oh, right. I
And
forgot. Yeah, that was when he was like, "Are you Laura Palmer?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm dead, but I live still though, and also I can take my face off."
and it was again, like I felt like a kid, like
Forgot about that part.
seeing like uh something for the first time. I don't know what. I can't even put into words. I was just so taken away by that moment because to me it connected back to the cover of Fire Walk with Me that I never quite paid a lot of attention to, but that image of Laura Palmer with like her face missing and underneath is like the dead Laura. And so when she took her face off in this thing, I was like, "Oh my god, it's like the cover," you know. And it felt like it was this culmination of like that I didn't know I was expecting, you know, of this callback to this thing that's been staring us in the face all these years, you know. And it's like finally that image that you saw this time, here's this character doing that image, you know. I thought that was like that just blew me away. I just couldn't believe that happened, and what it, you know, let alone whatever it means.
Yeah.
It just felt like I'm trying to think of an analogous thing on Lost that would be like, I don't even know. I don't even know what it can. I have no analogies for this. But I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. Like, it just felt like the show was almost like it was almost like this secret that was hiding. You know what I mean? Or this clue, I should say, that was hiding in plain sight this entire time.
Oh, right.
And then they did it in the show, and it was like, oh my, God, I'm trying to think of a good analogy. Geez, I don't know. Maybe by the next podcast I'll have a good analogy for this, for what I'm trying to say, but or what it felt like, just this weird like, connecting of the dots, or something that I didn't expect to ever be connected.
Right.
But then it made me understand the whole thing of the show, the whole image of Laura Palmer, that school picture that they always show
Mm-hmm.
when in the case in the high school, and
Yeah.
that extreme close up and that holding of that image. Like, I get it now. That was her mask. She was wearing this mask, but she was this other person underneath the whole time. We obviously get all that throughout the show, but like, now I understand what that long shot on that image was trying to do to us, because that's what it does. It makes it seem fake. It calls, when you're holding that smile that long and that look that long, it starts to seem surreal, like, so this moment here of her taking her face off just like crystallized this whole other part of the show I thought I had understood, and I was just like, oh, I get it now. This is the kind of thing he was doing before, showing that image, He was, the kind of thing they were getting at. So this moment blew me away. I mean, I'm still haunted by this. I can't believe it. I remember when she put her hand up to her face, and I'm like, what are you about to do?
Oh man, that freaked me out.
Yeah.
I was like, oh god, don't do that. Why are you doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Stop. Ugh.
Just the best, man.
Don't take your face off.
I mean, the face came off, and then this like glowing like thing, spirit, I don't know what underneath.
No idea.
And just he's surprised, and I feel like it didn't answer his question. I feel like it made it invalidated what she said.
It seemed that way, yeah.
um uh,
Yeah.
it was very strange. She's like, oh god, but sometimes my arm's been back, and I'm like, oh god, I used to know what that meant. um and yeah, it was very strange when she's like, yeah, I am Laura Palmer, I'm dead. Okay, great, then that just means, outside of like Mike and Bob, like these are just like, she's dead. Okay, this is her dead self here, but she's obviously more than that. There's something else there. And I don't know if we'll get any more with that, because it seemed like, I guess we get to it later, or is it in this scene?
It's in this scene.
Oh God,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's right after she does the whisper. So I'm assuming it's connected to whatever she whispered, although I don't know that for sure. Because as soon as the whisper's over, suddenly, like, she senses something or whatever. She gets, this kind of fearful expression, and something. It's kind of hard to describe. Something, like, sucks her out of the room, I guess.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, to me, she sort of transcends, or she does something that goes. She's no longer in the Black Lodge. She goes somewhere else or becomes something. But the sheets, man. I mean, the fucking red curtains. Just the fact you can be that evocative by shaking some sheets. You know what I mean? Like that was insane to me. And then the way she like flies off through the sheets almost.
Yeah.
Easy. I keep saying sheets. But curtains or whatever. Yeah, dude. And then like they have that shot where like he's seeing the room and the curtains start billowing, like revealing more, and then it's like this
they
whole
get the horse in there.
The horse decides to show up,
the
of course.
famous horse, yeah.
And and then we get this like 3D shot of like flying over the zigzag floor with the horse, and we
right.
to the blackness, and then we then I guess we get then we come back to him talking to Mike,
yeah.
And this was great. I love this moment because I'm like, wait, is this before or after the other scene? And then Mike's like, hey, remember, time is different here.
Is it future? Is it past? Yeah.
It's like as soon as I was asking the question, they gave me the answer. I was like, oh man, you just proved your point. Because like they tell you at the beginning, and you forget. He comes back, you forget about that. He's like, yep, here it is again. You're like, Yep, you're right. You did just tell me that time does not work the same here.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's in Fire Walk with Me too. I wasn't able to verify if it's actually in the movie or if it's only in the missing pieces. I started to get confused because I watched the missing pieces as well. And so now, like, I'm having a hard time remembering what's actually in the movie and what's just in the missing pieces, because obviously there's some overlap between the two.
Yeah.
Anyway, that line is either in, one or both.
Yeah. I'll buy it.
It's the little man who says it to Cooper. And it's also to Cooper, I thought in that context part of the idea was like Cooper is able to like communicate to some extent with Laura like in the past, because this is Cooper who entered the Black Lodge like in the final episode of the series, which is well after Laura Palmer was dead. And yet he's still able, and Annie also, is able to communicate with her somehow. Tell her not to take the ring. Tell her to write something in her diary or whatever.
Yeah.
So, it seems like they're kind of playing this the other way now, like with, the future. But Laura's screams and stuff, it seemed to me like something bad happened to her. And, later on we see Leland and he's like, find Laura. So, I'm assuming there's something going on there with, something in the Black Lodge, like punishing her or trapping her or something for something she said to Cooper when she was whispering in his ear. There's something going on there.
I kind of just thought she went somewhere but didn't know where she was going, and it just kind of hurt. Like it was just that Lynch thing, that just because you're going to the next place doesn't mean it's going to be nice and peaceful.
Right.
That's kind of how I took it. But yeah, you're right. There is maybe a thread. He's got to maybe save her again somehow, or release her from something. But I don't know. She seemed knowing. You know, she seems to know what she is. But I guess it doesn't necessarily mean she knows everything about this whole world. Because I mean, that's the biggest thing we're about to get to it, which is my favorite part. Out of favorite parts, which is the evolution of the arm. Which again reminds me like Matthew Barney type stuff, but
Yep.
just yeah. So I'm curious to see with the whole Laura thing. That I would love it if she's not done with the show and we get more with her. But yeah. So this next scene when they go and he's like the evolution of the arm. I mean, my jaw was just dropping. I mean, my brain was already exploded, and like Laura just did whatever she did in the sheets and built, she like warped away, and after she took her face off, and so I'm still like piecing together what just happened there, and they just happen to walk to another room, and you've got a talking something on a tree, and he's like. Which is already like interesting, right? Like they could just keep walking, right? And I'm still like, great. That's great TV. Whatever that happened, whatever that thing in the corner was great. Loved it. And then it's talking, and then you realize it's the little man, the dancing man, the evolution of him, and you're like, of course it is. And he's like, I'm the evolution of the arm, and I sound like this. Of course you do. Oh man, it's great. I love people proclaiming who they are, and this is what they sound like, because it's so obvious, and it's like perfect. And then this whole
the sounds he made were weird. It wasn't the same thing that the little man did when he said that line. Like he did this sort of like whooping thing with his hands. And the sound that this like tree thing made was more like a I don't know how to describe it, like a clicky sort of. I wanted to tie it in. I don't think it ties in, but I wanted to. I mean, I'm trying to find patterns. I wanted to tie it in with the opening scene with the giant, because he's like, listen, like, and he has him listen to this thing. Cooper listen to this thing from that little like gramophone thing, and it makes these weird like clicky sounds.
Yeah.
And then Cooper's like, I understand.
Oh, that was perfect.
I'm glad you understand.
Yeah. I think it ties into Cooper Bob, when he was rubbing the guy's beard. I was listening with headphones, and it was clear to me he was interested. Well, what I took from that, he was interested in the sound the guy's beard was making when you rubbed it. It was very, that ASMR stuff, that like, those like really soothing sounds that sound weird in your ear, that people listen to.
Yeah.
Rubbing a brush, or like people talking like this, That's what it was to me, because I felt it like in my headphones, like when he was doing it, I was like, oh, this is an interesting sound that's happening.
It's the sounds.
Yeah, it was the sound that he liked. That's why he was like, come here, and like there was no dialogue. He was just like doing it for the sound. So I think that connects to like the sound, something about the sound is important on this show. The sound on the gramophone thing.
Yeah.
Was so they're interested in these sounds.
On the arm, and I sound like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's something there. He mentions a number 2, and like I keep wanting to say Jack and Diane, but it's Richard and Linda. I really want it to be Jack and Diane, but no idea who that is. But there's multiple times where like these numbers get mentioned. So I think the tree mentions some numbers also.
Yeah.
Am I right about that? He's like 2, 3. Zero or
Yeah,
something.
the giant was like, remember 430.
Yeah. Right.
And but real quick though, they said the Black Lodge is the waiting room, and I was always like, waiting room for what? It just dawned on me that Cooper was waiting there for 25 years.
Yeah.
Um, so waiting, like it's a waiting room in like between dimensions or something. It's like a rest stop, I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
But that was
I've been unsure about that line. Like, I wasn't sure if they meant like this room specifically, or they meant like the whole place. You know what I'm saying? Like,
hmm
I wasn't sure if they were just saying like basically the room with the chairs is the waiting room, and but when they,
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, I thought maybe that's what it meant. Though I really don't know. Maybe they mean that whole area is the waiting room, and there's like other stuff
yeah.
beyond that. Um,
I was just kind of looking at this shot again when the tree, because now we have to talk about a tree being a character.
I know.
Take that, Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm. This tree is way better. Oh my
And
god.
Freeman. Yeah, exactly.
This is how you make a tree a character.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. So that shot. So he says, "Do you remember your doppelganger?" And they do the flashback.
Right.
To where. So then you see Bob, and then you see doppelganger Cooper, right?
Yeah.
And then you see like Cooper running, and then like doppelganger Cooper catches him, and that's
Right.
when they switch places, right? And like,
Yeah, presumably.
yeah. So I think the idea is. And I thought I had it. I thought it was going to make sense, and then it didn't when I had to explain it. I was going to say like that. That to me is almost analogous to when Leland, walks back after killing Laura, walks back into the Black Lodge, and then you see Bob and Leland
Right.
together. But I think you said that before. That's not doppelganger Leland. That's like regular Leland.
It seems like it's real Leland, yeah.
So I don't know if Bob creates the doppelgangers but it seems like everyone just has a doppelganger in this place.
Yeah. Including the Black Lodge characters.
Including the Black Lodge characters,
Which makes it seem like there could be a doppelganger Bob, which is really weird.
Yeah, what would that even? Is that a good person, or is doppelganger Bob like the bad Bob, and there's like a good Bob?
Right. Oh yeah. It could go that way. That would make sense. But yeah, because that's the thing. Like, they show Cooper like seeing Bob in the mirror. I mean, that's the end of the original series. And that's just like what they did with Leland. So it seems like, oh no, it happened again. Like, Bob possessed somebody else, and this time it's Agent Cooper. Holy shit! But yeah, throwing in the doppelganger thing like makes it, because like you said, I mean, in that flashback, you specifically see Bob with doppelganger Cooper separately.
Yeah.
So, but of course, like you said just now, also, I'm just gonna repeat things you said because you just made all the good points. You see Bob and Leland next to each other, and clearly Bob possessed Leland. So.
Yeah, I mean, but it did seem when he says "remember your doppelganger," it does show both Bob and the doppelganger.
Right.
They're one and the same, I guess, and I'm not sure if they can be parsed out or.
Right.
We'll have to see. Yeah, it's really tough to kind of figure out what that means, because I would. It seems like you can have a doppelganger that has nothing to do with Bob. It seems like that should be true, because we see other doppelgangers. So. But.
Okay.
Right?
We do see other doppelgangers. But you don't think they're all Bob? I mean, I guess you're right. Like, the tree has a doppelganger, and which is like an extra level of crazy.
When I tell you, I was scared for my life when he said my doppelganger is coming or whatever. I was like, holy shit. What is that gonna be? Like, what's the I wasn't thinking it would have to look the same because that's what they've been doing with doppelgangers. But
Yeah.
I thought like, oh my god, what is the doppelganger of a brain on a tree? I don't know what that is. What's the opposite of that? That's what I was thinking. Like, what's the opposite of that thing? Luckily, it's just the evil version of that thing.
Evil version of that thing.
All rest easy.
Exactly.
But
Like
yeah,
the brain had like kind of a different color. It was sort of more of a yellowish
yeah,
tint.
yeah.
And also it seemed like it disguised itself as a statue.
And that was the other thing too. I thought they were gonna say, and maybe they are trying to say that is like the doppelganger's been in the room the entire time. Because I thought the statue this entire time was like a weird, crazy, special being, and we just thought it was a statue. But this whole time, it's been hiding. So yeah, so that shot when he's like, "Yeah, my doppelganger's coming," and when Cooper's walking in the hallway, at the end of the hall, you see this statue. I thought the statue was gonna just start like animating and be the doppelganger. And that's kind of what happened, except it just changed forms. It looked like.
Right.
So maybe that's the reveal. Like you know, just like the you know, one armed man is and the dancing man had been in the room. Like the doppelganger's been in the room the whole time, perhaps.
Right.
It looked like the statue moved, but maybe it moved because it's alive. Because it's not usually in that hallway.
True. Yeah, it's usually in the room.
Yeah, waiting room. Yeah, I kind of think maybe you're right. Maybe that room is the waiting room, and all the other, because all the other, there's so many other rooms apparently.
Right.
Yeah,
like, every time you go through, like, it seems like a different thing is going on.
But man, oh my god. Okay, so then we have to talk about my. I keep, you know, I've had so many favorite parts on this fucking thing, man. So many favorite parts. Oh, and that's what I was gonna say before when you were saying, you thought when Hawk went to the Bohemian, what was it called, Glastonbury Grove.
Yeah.
You thought Cooper was going to come out. I didn't think that, only because I assumed Cooper was going to be in the box. That was the only thing I could think about.
That makes sense, yeah.
Like, oh, Cooper's going to return in the box somehow. And it took me a long really probably until Cooper did get in the box. I didn't understand what I was seeing with the box because it has that carve out in the back, that circular carve out, and I couldn't tell if that was a window in the wall or if that was a part of the box, or if the box was like, you know, self-contained and it was just pushed against a wall that had a circular window. Like, I was really confused until they actually showed us how it worked, like what we were seeing in the back of that box, in the back of the glass box. That was really confusing to me. But we're gonna get back to that point. But dude, when he so he's going through the hallway, and he's got the red curtains.
Yeah.
You know, we see the statue, and they do a weird shot of the statue. It does make it look like the statue's gonna like turn and look at the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And he like kind of marches towards it like a confrontation, but then he turns, and then he pulls back the curtains, and we get like reality, which we have never seen them do.
Never. No.
And that apparently that opens this place up to just being connected to almost anywhere.
Yep.
And you could potentially just, I thought he was just gonna like hop out.
Me too. I thought he was gonna hop on the car.
He was gonna hop on the car.
I thought he was gonna wait until it was like right below and just like jump, and it was gonna be like a Cooper confrontation.
Yeah, or I thought it was gonna be a little bit more metaphorical, and like he was gonna wait. And he was gonna kind of hop out, but it was gonna be he would like take over the body, and he wouldn't like manifest fully in that world so much as like it would just be him taking over his body again or something. You know, like this is more like the lighthouse on Lost, you know, where he's kind of seeing a place, not like he's actually can just like a wormhole where he can just like jump to it.
Jump in.
And then my favorite part, God, I mean, the face coming off is pretty fucking spectacular. But this part here, man, when the doppelganger, oh my God, I can't believe it. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. I just couldn't believe this was a show. And when so it's this, it looks weird and kind of hokey, but it's horrifying. He's still, and it's like it's kind of sort of attacking him, but not really. And then it's making the floor all weird.
Oh
Which
man.
is like, wasn't that it wasn't he wasn't in that much peril, with just the floor kind of coming up and down, so it was kind of strange, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't hurting him. It was an interesting effect, and again, something else we never saw the Black Lodge do, this floor kind of becoming like a 3D object, and like the zigzags changing levels. But dude, when the thing opened up, my heart skipped a beat, and when it said non-existent, I'm telling you, and he starts flying through space. I've never seen anything better than that in my entire life. Nothing has ever been better than that moment. I swear, I want my ringtone to be non-existent. It was just, I mean, you just can't get better. It's just the best. And he's like, can't stay still. God, it's so good. Oh man. And then he's flying through space, and you realize you had no idea what the Black Lodge was this entire time.
Right.
You had no idea what this place was. You had no idea.
I thought I had it contained. I thought I sort of knew what was possible in there.
You had no idea that this was even like connected to this sort of multiverse thing happening. And I don't even know what that means, non-existent. I don't know if it was judging him or sentencing him, or what does that even mean? Clearly he exists,
Right.
Did it mean to send him to the box? Did he just randomly get to the box? Is that the way you get to the box?
Yeah, I got that vibe of the donkey wheel and then ending up in Tunisia.
It was definitely like that. Like, here's this place that leads to another place, and it's got like this like predefined path. But yeah, so he gets to the box, and then he floats through the tunnel, which was weird, right? Because he's flying through space or some sort of dimension.
Yeah.
Somehow he ends up in the real world, like in corporeal form,
Right.
but only for an instant.
Yeah.
Just to hit the glass, and then he sinks through that.
Through it, yeah.
But he, his molecules disassemble, something's happening, and now he's just like floating, and you realize he's in the box, and you're like, oh man.
Yeah.
Of course, they're doing this cross-cutting thing, and
just to tell us when this is happening.
Yeah, and you realize that, God, it's just the best, because like they didn't miss something appearing in the box. They were there when something appeared in the box, and it killed them. But what they missed was seeing our character, the cool, nice character, in the box.
Right.
And it's crazy that we as the audience missed it too. And the show's like, hey, this is what you also missed. You missed seeing Cooper in the box. And again, it reminded me of Lost in this way of like, we saw the thing work, but it was like broken. You know what I mean? We saw like the bad version of the box first with the monster in it. Versus Cooper first.
Right.
Yeah, it was. I found that to be. I was just. I mean, my mind was already blown. I couldn't handle anymore. The crescendo was the face coming off, right, and then Laura disappearing, and I'm like, I'm spent. I just can't handle any more Twin Peaks. And then the evolution of the arm walks in the door, and it's just like the perfect fitting tribute to, I think, the Danzig Man, to have him evolve, which is again adding to the mythology of the Black Lodge, this idea that these whatever people, these entities evolve. Like, what does that mean? Like, you're for this dude's arm, that was crazy enough, and now you evolved into this other thing, and then you have a doppelganger on top of that, who's hiding out as the statue potentially this entire time. And then it has the power to like banish Cooper. I guess banish it to non-existence. I guess that's the idea. Yeah,
that's
dude.
what it seems like. Yeah, because I mean, he floats in the box, but then like, I don't know, like then he phases. I don't know how to describe what happened.
A dimensional collapse or something happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, like on top of that, like him in the box was crazy enough. And then it like collapses in on itself some weird way. In this weird photographic effect. Again, David Lynch being, a photographer and cinematographer and stuff, you could tell like his visions of how these things work, because like he was like changing scale almost, as it was kind of going back into whatever dimension. It was almost like, that kind of effect with like, with two mirrors facing each other,
Right.
Yeah. The sense of infinite.
The infinite thing, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just going on.
So what does he do? So it collapses in on himself, and then he's just back floating through space, right? He said, God, I feel like that's the end of the show, right? Is just Cooper lost in non-existence or something. That could have been a fitting. I don't want him to be lost, but you know what I mean. Just in terms of like a good crazy ending, know. God, man, I mean, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 20 things in a row. That you never thought were possible on this show, let alone any TV show.
Yeah.
And it's just happening like it's normal. You're just like, and then they cut the Sarah Palmer, and then we go to the Bang Bang bar, the Double R bar, whatever.
Which is called the Roadhouse.
The Roadhouse.
No one ever calls it the Bang Bang bar, even though the sign clearly says that.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. There's a few things like that. If you look at like the Double R, you see that it's actually called the Marti.
Yeah.
And also, Josie's name is Jocelyn. No one ever acknowledged that in the original series.
All right.
Every credits, it's like Joan Chen as Jocelyn Packard.
I did. Yeah, they never wanted to call her that. They never
said it. There's even a plot line where she's betrayed Catherine. She's gonna have her killed, let the mill burn, and let Ben have the Ghostwood thing. And she takes out an insurance policy, a life insurance policy on Catherine that has her as the beneficiary. Mm-hmm. Does it say Jocelyn Packard? No. It says Josie Packard.
Wow.
It's like, even in an official document, she doesn't use that. Is she really Jocelyn? I was doubting the whole time.
At some point thinking that was a nickname they like, almost like a sign of disrespect or something. I remember thinking that at some point. I don't know why that I thought they were calling her that. Like, they refused to call her by her real name. Like, they nicknamed her just to sort of like in a condescending way or something like that. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure why I thought that, but I remember thinking that at a certain point. But yeah, that's crazy and weird. By the way, did Pete die in the explosion, the bomb in the bank?
Pete, I believe so. I think that's what the story's gonna be.
Dang! I just remember rewatching that.
Yeah, because he's right. I mean, he's right there when the bomb explodes.
Yeah, he's right there, and it's so weird that he just dies in this accidental way.
Yeah. Like, that plotline is hilarious. I love how that goes. It would have been so frustrating, I think, to watch it live, but like, Eckhart like leaves them this mystery box, and then like it turns out to just be this like series of puzzle boxes inside puzzle boxes. And then eventually they get to the last one, and it has a key to a safety deposit box, and it's like they're just invested in the mystery at that point. I feel like they forgot at a certain point like where it came from.
Yeah.
And like,
I think they seem to think it was gonna reward them in some way.
Yeah, but it came from their enemies, so it's just like, it's great when they get to the thing and they open up. It's the simplest thing. Gotcha, Andrew. Love Thomas.
Yeah. Oh, it was great. But yeah, so we get to the Bang Bang Bar, which no one calls it that. This is where we talk about James, who everyone's likes.
Oh, James has always been cool,
but pities a little bit. He'll never not be cool. It's like legends never die. It's just this thing. And then we get this classic Lynch like song. in this blue light. But I thought again, like another sort of modern version of his thing, like they had a younger band.
Right.
The song, I think millennials could dig the song. It wasn't weird. The music in this episodes was great, too, by the way, and the fact that we still have Angela Badalamenti, I think, is also genius.
Yeah. I'm glad they were able to do that because the music is a big part of the series.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're not worthy of all of this. It's just he's fucking 80 years old, man, and he's still crushing it. Yeah, the music was great, and yeah, another thing I've noticed is the last two episodes they have, something playing while the credits are going, and
right.
the first episode it was a cup of coffee with Laura's reflection in it. And in this one we have this band playing. So I don't know, that was kind of interesting. It seems like a thing they're gonna do is just kind of keep the credits going while they tell some more story here.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems like the plan. These credits, like, actually both times, like, the credits totally caught me off guard. I was like, what?
Yeah.
That's the ending?
There's no real feeling of the structure because like you said, it's just one long story. So they just kind of end it. They I'm sure they put the scenes together the best way they can. They kind of make it feel like something. But it's not like there was some storyline that wrapped up and it made sense to end there.
I mean, the Roadhouse thing comes out of nowhere. It's the first time we've seen Shelley or James. Actually, they even have the guy who played Jacques Renault in the background at bartending bar.
I thought that was him.
That's totally him. And you might remember that Leland murdered Jacques, so that's obviously not Jacques. But they credit him as, I think, Jean-Michel.
What?
Renault. So I guess there's a fourth brother.
Oh, no. Oh, Renault.
There's so many Renault brothers.
Oh, Renault, they didn't.
Oh, Renault.
Renault.
Oh, Renault, you did.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I thought that was him. I saw that guy, and I was like, that looks like Jacques Renault, but I thought Jacques Renault was dead. So I was like, that must be a weird, like, homage to him, or, like, they got something kind of look like him, but okay, so we've got... But... Did they credit him as a Renault or just Jean-Michel? Oh.
Yeah, no, with Renault at the end. Yeah. I think he's actually supposed to be a fourth Renault brother for real.
Oh, okay.
Taking his brother's old job.
I guess he came down from Canada, eh?
Must have, eh?
Oh, wow. Jeez, wow. But, yeah, man. Okay, well, we kind of described the whole thing, but and didn't figure out anything at all. But
yeah, it's hard to.
Again, this is our initial reaction. But my initial reaction was, "We're not worthy. This is too good."
Let me mention one more thing I really appreciated.
Please.
So there's this scene where Bob Cooper like takes out this briefcase. With like a thing in it, I don't know, to make calls with.
I love that. Oh my God, yeah. I'm sorry. We've got to talk about this. Just so Lynch, the whole confusing who's on the phone and the machine. Yeah.
Oh, I gotta talk about that first. That was the first thing where I was like, especially when I watched it again, I was like, what? Because I think again, the first time I was just dazed by it, but like so they have this thing, like, he's got these people he recruited, Ray and Daria.
Yeah, it reminds me of Nikki and Paulo.
Totally. Yep. The Nikki and Paulo of Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So Daria's there in this motel, when he shows up, and they have a quick shot of her on the phone, and she's like, "Oh, he's here, I gotta go," She hangs up the phone. He walks in the door, like, literally, like, he walks in the door, like, the second after she hangs up the phone.
Yeah, she's still kind of hanging it up.
Right, but then, just a few minutes later, he plays for her a recording of that phone conversation that sounds like it was on tape. How the fuck was that possible?
I don't know, because I was confused in that moment where where that recording came from. I didn't catch that was. I did get his. All I got from that was what his main point was, that the dude she claimed she was talking to was dead or something. Maybe
No. He's talking about the guy he massaged his jaw. That's who Frank is. Ray is the guy she was talking to. He's still alive. He's in the prison. I think he looks up where he is, and Ray's the one who has the information that he's looking for. There's a whole plot there.
Yeah, I misunderstood. I thought she was I thought she was on the phone with like somebody, and then she was lying who she was on the phone with, and then I thought he said, "Oh yeah, the guy who you claim you're on the phone with is already dead, so it couldn't have been." And that's why. And I thought he caught her. In a lie.
Maybe she did say she was on the phone with Frank, but Frank's not Ray. Ray is who she was on the phone with.
Okay, yeah, I gotta watch again. I was confused about that, and I was confused about whatever he played her. I didn't really catch that it was from that conversation.
Yeah, so if you rewatch, you listen to the part right at the end. She says exactly the thing that she says at the beginning of the scene. You know, oh no, he's here. I gotta go. It's the same lines. So I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be the conversation that happened just as he was, walking in the door.
What does he play it on?
He plays it on something that looks like a little tape recorder, but then he does seem to use that to like download information later when he looks up the stuff about the prison on the FBI website or whatever that he hacks into.
I mean, he could. I mean, if he was, in a car with a microphone or some kind of, technology that can hack into her call.
Yeah.
He could have that, but why it's on like a sort of tape recorder would be weird.
Yeah, like he had to rewind it. Like it was just weird. Like it seems so old fashioned and yet like futuristic.
Yeah.
Like it's Matro.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that in the next podcast. We'll have to revisit this scene
it's a whole thing. So the specific thing I was going to mention is that he makes this call, and you find out that he's expecting to speak to Philip Jeffries. Philip fucking Jeffries, David Bowie's character from Fire Walk with Me.
Oh wow! I knew that name. I couldn't place who that was.
Yeah, that's who he's. Yeah. Philip Jeffries reference? Are you shitting me? Really? You put that in there?
Damn.
So he's been working with Philip Jeffries. This is the whole thing. I mean, we'll have to talk about this in more detail because there's a big plot going on here.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out it's not Philip Jeffries. He gradually realizes it's somebody else.
Yeah.
And the guy he's talking to is like, I'm gonna be with Bob soon, and you're gonna go back, and it sort of seems like it. And he also mentions like you met with Major Briggs, so they bring that thing up. So it's like, what?
Yeah, I originally thought this was Dale. I originally thought, this was Dale basically warning Bob, like, I'm coming after you. You're gonna, have to get back in.
I mean, it doesn't sound like him.
It doesn't. Well, you know how Lynch is when it comes to like, people hiding their voice. Dick Laurent is dead. Didn't sound like, Bill Pullman.
You're totally right. Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
That's what I thought, but then I also thought maybe it was Mike. Someone else who has an interest in this whole thing. But I just love that he was wrong. I love that he didn't recognize the voice. I love that he just assumed, because it seemed like this machine was set up to make this call at a particular time. Like something had to be right. He looks at his watch. You know what I mean? So they had either a pre-appointed time to talk, or this machine kind of connected to whatever it needed connected to at a certain time. Something happened that this wasn't like a random call. You know what I mean? And the fact that like he just starts talking to this person, and then in the middle goes, wait a minute, who am I talking to? Which reminded me of like Memento. Like, wait, who's on the phone? And I love that someone else is out there who knows what's happening, and yeah. So when he says I just called to say goodbye, that made me think it was Cooper. Like, but when he's like, "This is Philip Jeffries, right?" Which makes me think he doesn't talk to Philip a lot or something. He doesn't know his
Right.
voice. Like,
Yeah.
uh,
Well,
um,
that when the conversation started, I was like, do they really want us to believe that's Philip Jeffries? It was obviously not David Bowie, not just because like you can tell it's not his voice, but like if you rewatch, if you check out Fire Walk with Me and you listen to David Bowie in those scenes, like he's doing this weird accent. He's doing this
mhm.
like Southern American accent.
Yeah,
It's weird, and this guy doesn't sound anything like that. Like
and David
not
Bowie's
even an
dead.
imitation. Sorry, what?
And David Bowie's dead.
And well, yeah, there's that. I mean, I think actually he was alive when they were filming, but I think he was probably sick or something. Like I'm guessing. I'm guessing that they wanted to maybe incorporate him some more, and that's why he's getting referenced. But they had to kind of work around that. That's my best guess.
Wow. Yeah, the
Um,
Jeffries thing is completely unexplained, right? Like,
yeah.
doesn't he just show up and disappear and like that's it?
So yeah, I mean, there's a little more about Philip Jeffries and the missing pieces.
Mm.
Like they show him in this hotel in Buenos Aires, I think. Um,
Oh, that's
uh,
right.
so that like those scenes kind of and they show some more extended stuff about what he says. He mentioned some stuff about the ring. So it's sort of implied. Well, okay, they directly say like he was missing for 2 years,
Yeah.
and he clearly like visited the Black Lodge somehow.
Yeah.
He mentioned seeing their meeting. He talks about the convenience store, and in the
Is that
missing
the Black
pieces he
Lodge?
mentions the ring.
Is that the Black Lodge though? The,
Well,
like the place that they are above the above the convenience store.
I guess maybe I should say yeah, it's the Black Lodge characters.
Okay. Okay.
And at a certain point, like they show the drapes, and I thought it was implying. I guess maybe it's sort of like what they're doing now, that like the Black Lodge leads there or something.
Hmm.
But maybe it's not inside. Like they can get to there from the Black Lodge,
Yeah.
because I think they show them like going directly to the Black Lodge from that room.
Okay.
So it made me think they were the same thing, but I guess now with this episode, I think maybe it's more just that they can access that room from the
Hmm.
Black Lodge. Since that's like a possibility now.
Seems like you can access anywhere. Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
exactly.
yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So, but anyway, like he's like, I went to one of their meetings, and he says a lot of crazy stuff. He also points to Cooper, and he's like, "Do you know who that is there?"
Mm-hmm.
So like now with this, I'm starting to wonder: did he think it was Cooper because he saw him in the Black Lodge? Did he think it was Doppelganger Cooper because he was working with him somehow? Like there's something there.
Yeah, there's something there.
It's crazy that they're. I mean, even bringing. I mean, such an obscure detail.
Hmm.
Like I mean, that David Bowie sequence in Firewalk. It's crazy. It's a
Yeah.
crazy sequence.
It's super crazy.
It's like what's one of the weirder things in that movie.
Hmm.
And it's the kind of thing that reminds me of the new series
Yeah.
in terms of how strange it is. And how just like, and then he disappears, and they're like, he's gone. He was never here. It's like, what? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, wasn't it? Did Cooper had a dream, right? Like that was the whole thing. Like, didn't he have a dream about it? Because like he shows up and he does the whole thing with the security cameras.
He's
Like
clearly
he's
expecting something.
expecting.
Yeah, right. He says he had a dream, and it's that day. And then that's when he goes and starts like walking back and forth with the camera. Yeah, you're right. He had some
Yeah.
dream that led him to expect something was going to happen.
Yeah, which was crazy. Oh, jeez. Yeah, so this scene with Cooper Bob, I love that he's got this weird technology thing. He's got some weird contraption that allows him to sort of facilitate this communication. It reminds me of Lost. with their like weird pseudo sciencey things and
Yeah.
contraptions.
Yeah, definitely.
But then, yeah, I didn't actually catch this. So he's on the FBI computer thing, right? Like, what did
Yeah.
he do?
So I'm assuming he's looking up Ray because in the phone conversation, Ray mentions that he's in federal prison.
So is Ray Matthew Lillard?
No,
Or is
no.
Ray's
That's
seen?
Hastings.
Ray's a character you haven't seen yet.
No. You've seen Ray. Ray is the two. It's Ray and Daria that he recruits in the scene.
I gotta rewatch this because
Ray is gonna go get information from Hastings' secretary. So that's Matthew Lillard's secretary. Like she has important information that that Bob wants, and he's supposed to get it. But then it seems like he got it, but then he got arrested. So I think that's what he finds out from Daria before he kills her. And I think now he's going to track down Ray. I think that's what's happening. Let me just be clear. This is stuff I only understood when I watched it the second time.
Yeah.
I did not follow that scene at all the first time, like whatsoever. I was just in this constant state of shock.
Like, where is Cooper Bob? Like, is he in Buckhorn?
I feel like he must be in Buckhorn or close to it, because I mean they show him killing Hastings' wife.
Yeah, and I think when he's on the machine, they do. Okay, that dot for Buckhorn must be his current location.
That's what I would guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the big South Dakota thing on there. No map ever looks like that. If you're zoomed in that close on the state, you know what state it is. That's all for the TV audience. But then he's got a weird login. Yankton Federal Prison, and you see like how is he hacking into this database?
No
idea.
Why
does he know the organization is a
weird?
You
know what that reminds me of is the Smoke Monster like rigging that complicated bomb.
Oh yeah.
Like he just had this like advanced technical knowledge for no apparent reason.
For no reason. Yeah, the name is EEUOUBP3X. That's the username. Yeah, and it's like ID number. I'm like, God, what is that? Is it just random digits? Does that mean anything? And then it did do it did a weird flash when he logged in, right?
The thing is like glitching the whole time he's looking at it. It's kind of like fuzzy and like flashing occasionally. It seems like David Lynch loves like blinking lights. Like there's that moment from episode 1 when the cop's like flashlight is broken, and it's like
right. It starts showing all these blueprints. That's right. Oh, he's downloading the blueprints.
He's downloading blueprints. Yeah.
Is that why it's flashing? It doesn't look like it's flashing before he starts downloading.
I thought it was flashing the whole time.
No,
I can look again, but I saw it flashing the whole time. When I saw it again, I saw it flashing the whole time.
Let me see. I guess something's happening. Yeah, it's kind of dimming. The screen's kind of dimming and flickering. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yep. Yeah, it is sort of like bad connection, I guess, is the idea or something.
Yeah, he loves those like fluorescent lights blinking. They have that in Fire Walk with Me, and also in the pilot in the room when they look at Laura's body the first time. It's just
he loves strobe lights.
He uses it with the tree too.
Yeah, the strobe is huge. That blue white light he loves. The other thing I remember too from this was the flashlights in people's faces. Remember that from Inland Empire?
Oh yeah.
That when they're sitting around, they have the flash. They did that in here, except it was the flashlights are off camera.
Right.
But when they're going through the woods, you see the flashlights on people's faces.
They did that in Fire Walk with Me too.
Yeah. Oh, maybe that's what I'm talking about. Fire Walk with Me. It's all blending together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought like that was interesting. I'm like, oh yeah, this is like Inland Empire, except in Inland Empire you see them holding the flashlights, which makes it seem weird.
Right. Right. Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like, it's like, who's holding that flashlight? Like, nobody could be holding that thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like this weird stylized thing of like their face illuminated by flashlight.
Yeah, he likes that, like this kind of like you can't see everything. You can only see what the light reveals, the little spotlight part reveals.
Exactly.
So what happened? So he finishes with the computer, and then there's a woman in the room, and I'm trying to figure out who she is and what happened. And is this you
talking about Jennifer Jason Leigh?
Jennifer Jason Leigh?
Yeah, that's her.
I didn't recognize her. I don't know what's happening here. I don't remember this scene.
You don't remember that scene?
I don't remember this scene. I don't remember Jennifer Jason Leigh being in this. She's one of my ever.
She is in this. It's a brief scene, but she is in this.
I'm confused. I'm really confused. Maybe I thought she was Daria or something. I got confused. I don't know what happened. I don't remember this at all.
Yeah, you find out he's got other people, not just the hangers-on we've already seen.
Damn! On top of everything, you're gonna put Jennifer Jason Leigh in this shit? Oh my god! Jesus Christ! And this is only the first 2 episodes. Who knows who's coming next?
Oh yeah. I'm sure there's more people coming.
I mean, who wouldn't sign up? I mean, any actor would probably be like, "Yeah, I'll jump in some Twin Peaks. What are you, fucking stupid? I'll jump in this thing."
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I don't know. I was a little not paying attention, or something happened at the end of that. I didn't really catch what was happening there. Or maybe I just didn't see her face, and by the time I was paying attention, she wasn't facing screen or something.
Right.
Wow, I gotta digest that. Jennifer Jason Leigh's up in here. Okay. Non-existent. Oh, I'm telling you, man, it's like best. It's like the best thing ever. I just can't believe it. Can't believe it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Non-existent.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say a quick thing about the effects, because I've seen a lot of people talking about the effects.
Talking
online.
About what?
Just in terms of the way they look, because he likes a particular style of effect. I mean, you talked about it earlier with the floating face,
Yeah.
That's actually an effect he uses a lot. Like that face thing is in Lost Highway. It's in Twin Peaks. It's in Mulholland Drive. He uses it in everything.
Yeah.
And you can tell what it is. You know what I mean? It doesn't really present a plausible illusion, I guess. And a lot of his effects are along these lines. But it, I guess the artificial nature of it has a certain kind of effect that he likes, I guess. Because I think he could have effects that look more like what you see on other shows.
Yeah, I think he likes the basic photography of it. I think that's what he likes, because it's like an old school photography effect.
Right. It's just a camera, yeah.
Yeah, and overlaying film and
right.
And I think there's probably something interesting there for him. And I do think the fact that it doesn't look real makes it more plausible in a way, because it looks unintuitive. And right. I think a lot of these weird things should look unintuitive. You know what I mean? So in a weird way, it works. And I think, it's just a style that he likes, and you have to, just kind of deal with it.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like another a horror movie or something else where they would make it seem kind of like what you would expect it to look like. It is different.
Yeah. It's sort of like if you watch any of his movies or the original Twin Peaks, that's the style of special effect he's into. And so it's not the kind of thing you see on TV all the time, but it's clearly it's not just bad special effects.
Were people saying it was just bad special effects?
I saw people saying that.
Listen, if you're out there and you have anything negative to say about Twin Peaks, go fucking watch something else. Seriously. This is not a time to bring in your critique about what you know what I mean? This is like getting a second birthday in a year or something, you know what I mean? This is so far more than what anybody deserves. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That it doesn't. I just feel like, this is obviously my own thought about it. You don't don't feel like you should be talking about it like it's a regular show. Like it's just like, oh, here's another season of the show. Great, let's tear it apart like we do everything else. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's just, to me, it's bigger than that. It's not just like another season of a show. And like, oh, the effects look bad, motherfucker. This is exactly what they want the effects to look like. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like that for a reason. And if you were a David Lynch fan, you would know this is what he likes. This is his style.
Yeah.
Like, those videos he would have on his website and stuff had to have those kind of effects. You know what I mean? Like he that's his style.
Yeah,
you know?
Rabbit said
like,
that.
Yeah, and like this is for the fans.
Yeah.
And if you're brand new to Twin Peaks, fine, great. Join the club. But like, you're fucking 21-year-old millennial. Like, these effects look bad. Yeah, go fucking watch fucking something else. Can't even think of anything worth them watching. You know what I mean? It's not even. Don't even. The Leftovers, fine. That's a new show. Go at it. Tear it apart if you want.
Mm-hmm.
But like, don't bring that shit to Twin Peaks. Yeah, my friend at work was like, I was like, hey, anybody seen Twin Peaks? He's like, oh, is it good? I was like, it's the best thing I've seen on TV. And like, oh, is it what, he said something like, he was basically saying the oh, yeah, I forgot how he phrased it, but he was basically saying the first two seasons were boring. And I was like, oh yeah, there were some parts of season 2 that weren't that great. And he was like, I didn't even finish season 1. I'm like, oh god, okay, well, I don't know.
Oh yeah, I've talked to people like that where it's like, even just the whole show itself was too.
Yeah, exactly.
Too slow.
And I'm just like, okay.
Even the parts that like most people think are good.
Yeah, I'm like, well, I can't help you. This isn't for you then. Like, not the kind of thing where, that's like saying, God, Picasso's blue period should have been green. It's not quite up for debate in a way. It's kind of like, hey, if you don't like it, then obviously you don't like it. That's totally like fair. But it's not the kind of thing where it's like, the pacing should have been faster. No, it shouldn't have. First of all, it's slower because it's an older show, but it's slower because it's Lynch's like style, and it fits that.
Slow. I mean, That's what he does.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not the kind of thing where you can say, "Oh, I wish it should have been this or should have been that," or because I thought it was slow, it should have been faster. And it's like, no, not at all. In fact, you're supposed to revel in how fucking slow it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's part of the experience.
The dreamlike quality.
He loves drawing those things out. You get more atmosphere that way. I mean, that was something that I noticed. When I first started watching like the new TV. I always wanted something like Twin Peaks, and I never got it because really, like, no show has the patience to do the kind of stuff that you're getting in Twin Peaks or in this. To just sit there on, like you're saying, like just sit there on a character, and they're not even saying anything.
And you're gonna cut to them again, and they're not gonna say anything either.
Exactly.
And to me, that's what it is. It's like if that's the thing you like, then this is the thing for you.
Yeah.
And if that's not the thing you like, then this is not the thing for you. It's not about like conformity. That's kind of what I mean about like being in the presence of a master at work. It's not about like how can this conform to what I want it to be.
Right.
The whole point is for you to figure out how you can conform to it and get something out of it.
Yeah.
And
it's not going to be like True Blood. It's not going to be like Homeland. It's, that's not.
Yeah, like True Blood. Oh, I wish we had more story with the fairies or something, or I wish it had this kind of power. I wish it was like whatever. Like that's all up for grabs, But yeah, I think Peaks is like completely different, and it's just like you're supposed to watch and observe and take it in.
Yeah.
And I think you want it to be surprising and uncompromising and like and its own thing,
definitely
that doesn't like back down, when you poke at the edges of it,
Right.
Yeah, I'm watching Cooper like float in space here. And it was
That's
weird
where we leave him at the end of part 2.
when he's in the box. Did you notice how I guess the whole room is like this, but it was very noticeable on him when he's floating that everything has this like sepia tone to it. It had this weird kind of look to it. I thought that was very interesting.
I guess I didn't notice that.
Yeah. But yeah, that's where we leave him. What is that supposed to be? And that's so crazy because like the whole point was he's supposed to be getting out of there. It's time for you to go or whatever.
Right.
And now you thought it was gonna, and I thought it was gonna be like a straightforward. Okay, he's got to find Bob, and he's gonna get Bob in here.
Right.
But now he left him floating in space.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah. I see the sepia tone you mean.
Yeah, you see it?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, this room is like really.
It's the whole place, but particularly when he's in the box, though, it looks like he it up or something.
Yeah. I'm just noticing some details in the room that it's like I love the design of this whole thing.
Oh, it's great, and I love all the cameras, and it's like, first of all, who's behind it? We still don't know that. Who did they expect to find?
Yeah, there's some like billionaire or something. There's some mysterious figure here. I don't know if this is going back to Bob or there's some other like Wyndham Earl type character who like wants to access the Black Lodge.
Not Wyndham Earl, but Charles Widmore, perhaps.
Widmore Earl, yeah.
Yeah, once they said a billionaire was behind it, I'm like, if Charles Widmore shows up here, where's
just
Alan?
in terms of like trying to access the thing, but yeah, you're right. The Widmore's a better comparison as far as like the function and the story.
Mm-hmm. Are they trying to capture somebody? Are they trying to? Was it for Cooper?
Yeah, the guy on the phone said like, "I'll be with Bob again." So I don't know if that's the guy or not, but maybe that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you were with him before. Who are you?
Yeah, that's why I thought he was Cooper.
Yeah, that would make sense. Maybe they'll do that. We'll see.
But yeah, the whole room with the cameras, it was interesting how they made, the boxes are still there. So this is seeming like a fairly new Enterprise.
Right.
But it's sort of temporary in a way, but yeah, where did God, David Lynch makes a mystery out of where did the security guard go?
I know.
It's just like, it's the most mysterious thing. And because he was so adamant about his job before
mm-hmm.
that makes it even stranger that he's gone.
Exactly.
It begs the question, are there multiple security guards? Do they have shifts? Is it really this one guy, 24/7 or, whatever? How often does the dude work, sort of a thing?
Right.
But yeah, when the monster comes in the box, like, was that because they were having sex? Was it because there was a lot of emotion? Was it because, what was the reason and why? And that was where we left off at the box. So are we going to come to the box and the billionaire is like, oh shit, like it happened again, or this is the first time, or will we come back and there's like a new person in another box and like this person has no idea what happened before?
Right. Yeah, they could do that. Those all seem like possibilities.
And I guess this place is very specific. Like it's a conduit, I guess, from the intergalactic highway or something.
It seems that way, yeah.
The Lost Highway, perhaps.
Uh-oh.
Which is really interesting. I wonder if there is a connection there with that. There was some sort of spatial traveling on Lost Highway. There
definitely was.
So yeah, I'm curious about will we see the monster thing again? Was that just supposed to let us know? Like, did that thing get described as non-existent by the doppelganger tree evolution?
I was wondering if it was the doppelganger tree, which like makes no sense. I understand, but The only reason I thought that is because, the doppelganger tree is what sort of pushes Cooper into this space. And obviously, it's shown as a menacing figure, and so I was just like, "Whoa!" Because like the story tells us that like that monster attack happened like right after Cooper came in and then
Yeah.
left.
Yeah.
So I just thought like the only thing we know that like might have been pursuing him would be that, but it's like, but why would it look like? I mean, it looks nothing like it looked in the Black Lodge, so.
Yeah.
I don't have any reason to think that's what it is, but I guess the thing is, like, if it's not that, I mean, what is it? What is that thing?
Is that thing out? Is it something we need to be worried about out in the world now, and that's going to be part of the plot? You know, like that there's these strange murders, and is it a type of inhabiting spirit that could actually take over people if it wanted to?
Right.
Yeah, I mean that thing is. I mean, you could have a whole horror movie about what that thing is. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah. You
That's
could ignore the rest of the plot and just focus on that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy to get this much.
I feel that way about a lot of stuff in this, like where it's like you could just focus on this, and this could be like a whole movie or a whole miniseries by itself.
Yeah, the fact that we have 18 hours here, that's like
it's huge.
6 David Lynch movies.
Yeah.
Or say almost 9 regular movies.
Yeah.
That's a lot of story. I mean, this is it's definitely a feat to have. I'm surprised there's even this much story to tell, honestly.
Me too. And I mean, especially considering like the original agreement was 9. And it's like, how did they agree to 9? And turns out, no, sorry, we have 18.
Yeah, like whatever they came up for 9 was only half the story, or they cut, or it was twice the pace or something, and they had to slow it down, or they had to like add more subplots or something. Yeah, it is interesting what they even came up with is, I would have never guessed so much of this stuff would have been relevant,
Yeah, I mean, since they negotiated it, like, I'm assuming that it's not going to be filler. I'm assuming they have something, to fill that time with.
Yeah.
That's worthwhile. But it is long. I mean, for a cable series, like 18 episodes is very long.
It's 2 seasons basically of a regular. Sometimes they're like 10 episodes.
Exactly. Yeah. Leftovers is only 8 this season. It was 10 before. Game of Thrones is usually 10. Like, it's very common to have 10, maybe 12.
Yeah.
But 18, I mean,
that's the other thing too, that they didn't just split in 2 seasons. They could have kept our attention for another year and said, hey,
done that.
We'll do half this year and half next year. And...
Yeah. Would have been fine. This show's going to run until September.
I don't know how we're going to manage. I don't understand how we're supposed to live with our lives. And every week we get a new Twin Peaks episode until like September. I don't understand that.
I don't either. It doesn't seem possible.
Yeah, I don't get it. And Jennifer Jason Leigh's in it. Oh man. Okay, so yeah, this whole thing with Leland.
Oh yeah.
Man, I just again seeing all these people, and then Ray Wise shows up, and you're just like, thank the gods. Wow, holy shit. I mean, these characters are so iconic. These actors are so there's just nobody who could replace these people.
Yeah.
And he's like, fine, Laura, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? And he's all upset. He feels guilty. He looks guilty.
Definitely.
And I'm assuming, this is the Leland from when Bob brought him in there. And that's the thing I wanted to ask you. When Bob brings him in there, and that's Fire Walk with Me, right?
Yeah.
And then Mike is like, the one-armed guy's like, I want my pain and sorrow. And then like Bob, Leland has like a wound, a bloody sort of, his shirt's kind of bloody on his abdomen.
Yeah.
And he takes that off and his shirt's like clean. So he kind of takes that wound, his pain and sorrow, I guess. And then he throws it on the ground and the blood comes on the ground and then it disappears. So I'm confused on what that was about. First of all, why is it Mike's pain and sorrow? And is that how he gets it? Just by throwing it in the floor? and they absorbed it. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, so some of this is just like guessing because like it's not really spelled out, but it seems to me that he takes. I thought some of the pain and sorrow maybe somehow also came from Laura and he picked it up, but maybe it's just Leland's. Either way, um, I thought the idea was that like it was a representation of like his pain and sorrow as the blood that he threw on the floor, and then somehow it transfigured into because they cut to the creamed corn, which is the Garmonbozia, which is the pain and sorrow.
Yeah.
So I thought like somehow the blood turned into the corn, which then the little man ate. Now why is it Mike's? Well, I have so there's a plot that happened in Fire Walk with Me that's like very understated, but there's something to it, and I don't know if we'll go back to it in the new series. But in the scene when Mike confronts Leland, and mainly he's confronting Leland, but Laura's in the car with him. He if you listen to what he's saying, he says, "You stole the corn."
Mm-hmm.
So there's some kind of plot about like Bob like stole their Garmonbozia, and so I think once he kills Laura, he owes them Garmonbozia that he stole. So I think that's why it's his. Like, you took mine, so now this that you just made is mine to pay me back. I think that's what it means.
Oh, okay. I see. And so okay, so Mike. Okay, so Philip Gerard was like a dude, right? And then like
okay,
Mike him, right?
You just opened up a can of worms by saying Philip Gerard, because like I can't even with that. Because that's like thing number 3. I mean, it's bad enough that we have Leland Bob versus Cooper Bob, where it's a doppelganger. Yeah. Then there's the third thing where it's like Mike even specifically says like I'm an inhabiting spirit.
Yeah.
But unlike Bob and all the other Black Lodge characters who have like a specific form that they take inside the Black Lodge as like, this is my true form when I'm not inhabiting a spirit, Mike just looks like Philip Gerard all the time. And also, Philip Gerard is missing an arm. Mike's arm became the little man from another place. That's Philip Gerard's arm? Like, turned into a living creature?
Yeah, that's the evolution of the arm. That was the first evolution.
Like really? So yeah, it's a confusing thing. Like, it seems kind of inconsistent. Like Mike should be a different thing. He shouldn't look like Philip Gerard, and yet he should have one arm still. It's confusing.
Yeah, because he cut off his arm, but if he cut off his arm, then he cut off sort of Philip Gerard's arm, which was also his arm. Yeah, it's super confusing. Because I'm on a Twin Peaks wiki reading this thing, and then wikis are sometimes tough because they kind of interpret things that they
definitely
interpret. Because it's saying Mike is a spirit who can inhabit a human host similar to Bob, who was his partner in a serial murder. After committing several rape/murders with Bob, Mike claims to have had a religious epiphany and repented, cutting off his own arm to rid himself of a Fire Walk with Me tattoo, which symbolized being touched by the devilish one, in quotes. Bob would not repent. Mike spent several years trying to find and stop Bob. He currently inhabits shoe salesman Philip Michael Gerard. So what I'm getting at here, the thing I'm interested in is this idea of Bob. What does Bob have? Is there anything special about Bob inhabiting Cooper's body now than what he was doing before, or is it all the same? And like, is he supposed to like go back to the Black Lodge like periodically? Or you know what I mean? Or is he free to roam? Or not? Is it every 25 years he's got to go back in?
Yeah, I mean, they seem to say he's supposed to go back in now. Like, there's some kind of there's some kind of necessity for him to go back to the Black Lodge, but I have no idea why or where that came from.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, what was his ability? I mean, the thing is, like, he was possessing Leland since he was like 8 or something. So, I mean, he was out of the Black Lodge for, I don't know, at least 30 years. You know, maybe even more than that. Maybe 40 years or 35 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, before that. And yeah, there was the early days. The early days with Bob and Mike when they were killing, that has not been spelled out at all. I don't really understand that part of the story. I do know that and there was an original draft of Fire Walk with Me where it was gonna start like in the 50s or something with the original Mike and Bob.
Oh,
And
wow.
they were gonna like fill in some of those things, but obviously that got taken away at some early draft stage. Um, so that's a part of the story I don't really understand. But I mean, to me, like the thing that makes it different is the doppelganger stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, otherwise I would say it's the same. You know, and I feel like it plays in a way like it is the same, but then there's the doppelganger thing.
Yeah, so the idea is Mike and Bob were just inhabiting other people while and killing through them, basically.
I guess so. Yeah.
But perhaps, but it seems like they can do it for a long time. I mean, Laura was being molested since she was 12.
Mm-hmm.
You know, by Bob through Leland. So I'm just curious, what's the difference between? It seems like with like Cooper's a special. You know, I want to make him a loophole. You know, like he's a special case. Like somehow he was able to trade places with someone in the Black Lodge, not just like inhabit them out in the real world, and therefore that allowed him to, like, you know, I guess not be in the Black Lodge all that time, but I guess enough is enough and he's got to like rejoin it or something.
Right. I mean, maybe when they were possessing people, they had to make check-ins. I mean, they do show, like you said, Leland checking in at the Black Lodge after he kills Laura, and delivering the Garmonbozia. I question how much Mike wanted to stop Bob, though. I mean, when we see him in Fire Walk with Me, I'm not convinced that he really wanted to stop him so much as he wanted his Garmonbozia back.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Fire Walk with Me makes it look like.
Well, he does try to wake Leland up in that one scene. I mean, yeah, he's not trying to. I mean, he's not stopping him, but he is trying to like tell him he's Bob, basically. You know, when he like is on the street and he like runs to them, and you know when Leland's like revving up the car,
right.
That whole scene. He is trying to have some kind of intervention, but it doesn't work.
But that's the thing, though. Like, if you remember him from this, so in that scene, it's very clear that he knows that Bob is inhabiting Leland.
Yes.
I mean, not to mention the later scene where he literally sees it in front of his very eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Then in the series, even when he's off his haloperidol, because, you know, we can always talk about the haloperidol,
yeah.
but even when he's off that, he's like, oh, Bob is near now. He is in a house with many rooms, and each occupied by... He goes into this, like, quasi-mystical thing, like yeah. I think Bob... He could just say it's Leland. He fucking knows it's Leland.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And so, like, when I watch it now, I'm so suspicious of everything he says.
It's like what the Giant says I think in the first episode of the this new season, where he's like, everything can't be said right now or something like that. He basically says, like, I can probably tell you everything you got to do, but not right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a little bit of a problem with the Fire Walk with Me being a prequel that came after the series, and then they like switching things around. Yeah, it's a bit weird. Yeah, his whole character's a bit weird the whole time. But yeah, begs the question: if Mike is in the Black Lodge, then where's Philip Gerard in the real world?
Exactly. Yeah. Is there still a Philip Gerard? I mean, who's selling those shoes?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's got to do it.
Who's selling those shoes? They don't sell themselves.
They really don't.
Um, interesting. No.
So we'll see what they do with Mike in the new series. I'm curious what direction they take. I mean, so far he seems to be fairly helpful, and generally speaking, like the giant Mike, the little man. Who's now the tree, the arm, what have you? Like they all seemed like relatively helpful, and it seemed like Bob was the evil one.
Yeah.
Even the grandmother and the grandson, like they seemed
Yeah.
relatively helpful as well. But I mean, that scene in it's Fire Walk with Me that really fucked everything up. I mean, there's that scene where like they're all meeting in the room. It's the little man, you got the grandmother and the grandson, and you got Bob there, and the grandson's like fell a victim, and they give him the ring too, and it's like
Yeah.
what, and then it makes it seem like they're in on it.
I think they are. I mean, I think they are. They're whatever's happening is their nature, right? I mean, they're making choices, but I think it's just their nature. There's no like judgment really. Now, obviously, there's this thing with Mike deciding what they were doing were wrong, or something like that, cutting off his arm. There's something there, but it's not. But this Garma Buzzy is the thing that they eat. That's a part of their thing. So they're not like necessarily judging. I mean, I don't know how else you get pain and sorrow. Maybe he
Right.
might thinks there's a way to get it naturally, that you don't have to force it out of people or sort of put them through hell to get it or something maybe. But begs the question: do they all eat that? Maybe the other people, there's a good version of that they eat or something. So that's the sense that I get, that there's just these kind of entities. You know what I mean? It's kind of like with the Greek pantheon of gods. You have you have Hades, who's the god of the underworld, but he's just doing his job like everybody else. You know what I mean?
Right.
The other gods aren't like, oh, Hades, you shouldn't be evil.
Right.
Like that's his thing.
That's just what
The
he
god
does,
of war,
yeah.
that's his thing. So Bob comes off to me like that. Where maybe they have some opinion about, what they should be doing with this world or not, but it's not like he's necessarily the black sheep and they have to like stop him and they're all good or something like that. It could just be that, it's because the kind of the way it comes across to me is that this is all sort of a coincidence, that this realm and this entity of people intersected with our planet, and Bob is just having his fun with it in a way, that the way he can, but that they have this existence that is not really interdependent upon people, that's kind of how it comes off to me. That there's this other realm or something that they're from, or dimension, and they have other things that are going on. Clearly there's other things going on in the universe.
Definitely.
That has nothing to do with Earth, and it's just kind of like, bad luck that Bob found this place. He found it like a gateway that he could go have fun,
Right.
in Twin Peaks or something.
Yeah.
And maybe it's sort of a reverse Lost, where sort of the Black Lodge and the realm it represents is sort of the island, and he wants to get off the island
Right.
and stay like in the real world so he could reign. But what's interesting is I'm not sure what powers he has, right? He hasn't really done anything supernatural, right? Like in terms of like, he doesn't have like telekinesis or like unless I'm forgetting something. Like he hasn't done anything like supernatural. He did kind of hit that guy, and the guy did kind of seem dead, so maybe he's like supernaturally strong or something.
Yeah.
But besides that, it didn't really seem like he's got any like supernatural power.
Yeah, I mean, aside from like being able to inhabit people.
As this form, because it kind of seems like he can't like body hop, like switch bodies, which is a lot like Lost season 6.
It does seem that way. You're right.
Either he can, or he just doesn't have a need to switch bodies. Like the Cooper vessel facilitates what he needs.
Right.
But I do think there's something with them switching bodies. The doppelganger switching with the good Cooper is the thing that mattered,
Yeah.
And I think the other people, like Leland is dead, so that's why he's there. Laura's dead, that's why she's there.
Right.
But yeah, Cooper's there, but his body's not dead. So I guess it's just his mind. Again, here's loss, here's consciousness, separate the body.
Yeah.
And the whole claiming thing, which is a Twin Peaks thing Lost took.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. But I do think it's an interesting parallel here with this idea of evil incarnate when you get up and close and personal, not being that evil. There's some kind of parallel there. Evil is what men do or something, not the men themselves, or I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Some quote out there that probably sums that up.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, man. There's way more to talk about. We're gonna continue this commentary. I mean, this not commentary series, but this series on Twin Peaks season 3. You can email us at Mr. Podcast CJ at gmail.com. It took us a while to remember that.
Our well-known email address.
Never really used it. We also have Claude and Justin at gmail.com. You can email us if you have some thoughts or comments about the episode or the podcast. We'd love to hear from you guys. Man, anything else you want to say before we
no, we should definitely delve into this some of these details a little more. There's a ton there, but I mean it's really exciting to have Twin Peaks back in any form at all, and to have such crazy and interesting things to think about and watch and talk about is I mean it's the kind of thing that's I don't know, I just feel really lucky that I actually get to experience that.
How often does your the gum you like come back in style?
Never, basically never. It's just unbelievable. And I mean, even just the concept of like revisiting a thing. I mean, I was always scared of like the Vega Brothers, the Pulp Fiction revisit or whatever. Anytime like you want to go back to a thing that it's so fraught with ways it could go wrong, and I really think like this did not, it really avoided the ways it could have gone wrong. I mean, if you look at like X-Files, Arrested Development,
I mean, nothing that has come back has been this good. Seriously, nothing.
Not even close.
Has ever been this good. It gave us more of what we wanted, not less. It didn't hide the goodies. It didn't say, we'll tease it up and show you Cooper in the Black Lodge, and then in 5 episodes we'll get to it or something.
It didn't say, oh, maybe there was no Black Lodge. Let's move on.
Oh man, yeah, right. Oh geez. Oh, X-Files. Oh, you failed us all. Yeah, I agree. I feel really lucky. It feels just unreal. It just feels unreal that this is a thing that we just get and be interested in and watch, and new story of one of the most interesting stories ever put on television. And as I tweeted when I was watching it, Twin Peaks reinvents television again.
Mm-hmm.
I really think the bar has been set. I mean, it just raised. It's beyond regular TV. I mean, it's obviously it's art, but it's just such a crazy experience, And I'm curious what other people. I was trying to look on Twitter to see what some other people were saying. I haven't really seen too many because I was trying to see if like Stephen King had anything to say about it, and there's some other people. I was like Clive Barker. I saw his Twitter, and I was like, oh, maybe he saw it.
Yeah.
But I haven't really seen any celebrities or big writer directors sort of talk about it yet, and I'm really nervous about spoilers because I haven't seen
episodes, and they're out there.
Of course they're out there. So I'm not on Reddit. I don't think I'm going to be on Reddit. Honestly, I don't, it's going to sound crass, but I don't actually care about other people's opinions of the show at all. I don't care. Even if they figure something out I don't know, I kind of don't even care to find out.
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
just, but like with Leftovers, I'm totally cool going to Reddit and seeing what people have to say. But like with this, I'm like, I don't care what you have to say. This is like a personal journey. Like, we're so lucky that Lynch is still alive. I mean, not that he's the oldest person on earth or anything. I'm just saying, generally speaking, he's still alive and making stuff. We're
Right.
just lucky enough, and
That he was willing to dive into such a huge project.
yeah, come back to this huge thing. He could have said, "Nah, I did it already. It's done."
Mm-hmm.
But this is like your favorite band broke up 25 years ago, and like I said before, like they're just like, "Hey, we got a concert, we have a new album," and then like it's just as good. Like it's like
Yeah.
it's different than the original show, but not in any ways that or what was I gonna say? Not in any ways that count. Wait, in ways that count? I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's different, but not in any way that like makes it bad or anything.
Yeah. Different in an interesting way. Cause
Yeah.
yeah, if it was just like a reunion show and they just try to like copy the old series with the actors, I mean, that wouldn't be good either.
Yeah.
So like finding that balance of not ruining things, doing something new and interesting that still feels like it's connected to Twin Peaks, but isn't just. I mean, it's a delicate balance. I think they did a pretty good job of that.
It's a near impossible task that they managed to succeed. To be able to like again like add to the original without tarnishing it. And expanding the mystery and the intrigue and all this stuff. And again, like now some of my favorite Twin Peaks stuff is in this, I wouldn't have thought that going in, like that I would see things and experience scenes that would be so novel. Like I swear, man, I was emotional watching this. I just couldn't believe it. I was just like, I've never seen anything like this. Like I've never seen anything like this. Some of these scenes and shots, I'm just like, no one's done anything like this before. And it's so it just reinforces that feeling of being lucky to even get any of this, because even if it was like, I would have loved the shitty version of this. It would have been great. I would have ate it up, even if it was bad, it would have been cool just to get some more stuff. But the fact that it's this interesting is icing on the icing cake. And
yeah.
And so I'm interested to see what happens next, and if they're gonna be able to keep up this quality, and if I mean, how's a show like this gonna end? I mean, Jesus Christ, how do you go from here? I mean, God, oh man, non-existent. Love that. I love that so much. Oh man.
Yeah.
I remember when seeing the subtitles and he's like, non-exist. I was like, what? And the fucking floor opens up and you're flying through some metaphor of something.
A spacey realm.
Yeah, just completely. I mean, he hasn't lost it.
No, definitely not.
Hasn't lost anything at all. I mean, just as sharp and exacting as ever. I'm just like, you sure you don't want to make movies anymore?
I know.
Come on, can we get a Lost Highway 2? What happens? Just pick up where you left off at the end of that, with Bill Pullman changing into whoever else next.
This convinces me that Lost Highway 2 could actually work. I could actually see that being a thing.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely room there to expand on that story.
Yeah, and who knows, man? If they take place in connected worlds or something, or connected together, even Mulholland Drive, Cowboy and those kind of characters, could connect to this world somehow.
Yeah.
Wow. Jeez. Wow. So.
Wow, Bob. Wow.
Wow, Bob. Wow. Okay, well, until next time, we'll be back with some more Twin Peaks: The Returned.
All right. See you next time.